Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today you are going to watch what if Naruto was trained by Lord Beerus during the 3-year trip. And before going to the video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe my channel. Now let's move to the video.
Chapter 1, The Cat and the Fox. The heat in Konoha was distinct that summer. It was a physical weight, a humidity that clung to the skin and made the cicadas scream in the trees bordering the village gates. Izumo and Kotetsu sat in the shade of the guard booth, their flak jackets unzipped halfway, nursing lukewarm bottles of water. The village was at peace, a lull that had lasted 3 years, and the boredom was almost as oppressive as the sun. "I'm telling you," Kotetsu said, fanning himself with a mission scroll. "The gambling odds are terrible. If Jiraiya returns, the tea shops will run out of sake. If he doesn't, Tsunade breaks a desk. Either way, we lose." Izumo didn't answer. He had stopped fanning himself. He stood up, squinting down the main road that cut through the forest, leading away from the village. "What is it?" Kotetsu asked, sensing the shift in his partner. "The birds," Izumo whispered. The cicadas had stopped. The birds, usually a constant riot of noise in the canopy, had gone silent. It wasn't the silence of a predator stalking prey, it was the silence of a forest holding its breath, an instinctual, primal pause. The wind died. The dust on the road settled, unmoving. Then, the pressure arrived. It wasn't chakra. Izumo and Kotetsu were seasoned chunin, they knew the feel of chakra, it was hot, sharp, or heavy. This was different. It felt like the air itself had become thinner, as if gravity had concentrated on a single point miles away and was slowly dragging the horizon toward it. "Something is coming," Izumo said, his hand drifting to the hilt of his kunai. A figure appeared on the horizon. It was distorted by the heat haze rising from the dirt road, a silhouette of black and orange. The figure didn't seem to be walking quickly, yet the distance between the tree line and the gates vanished in seconds. As the figure drew closer, the pressure intensified. Kotetsu felt a cold sweat break out on his neck, contradicting the summer heat. It was a sensation of absolute biological inferiority, the way a mouse freezes when a hawk's shadow passes over the grass. The figure stopped 10 meters from the gate. He was taller than when he had left, the baby fat stripped away to reveal a lean, wiry frame that spoke of dense muscle. He wore a heavy, high-collared black cloak with burnt orange lining, the sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms wrapped in strange, violet bandages. Around his neck, replacing the old green goggles, hung a thick golden collar, jewelry that looked ancient and terrifyingly expensive. Naruto Uzumaki looked up. His eyes were blue, but not the cerulean of a summer sky. They were deep, like the ocean where the light stops reaching, flecked with a violet hue that seemed to swirl if you looked too long. "Yo," Naruto said. The sound of his voice broke the spell. The cicadas started screaming again. The wind rushed back in. Kotetsu gasped, sucking in air as if he had been underwater. "Naruto? Is that, you?" Naruto smiled. It was a small, polite expression. "I'm back. Is Lady Tsunade in?" Yes," Izumo stammered, his heart hammering against his ribs. He couldn't understand why he was terrified. This was just the village prankster. The knucklehead. "She's in the tower." "Wait, where is Master Jiraiya?" "Pervy Sage stopped at a hot spring town 3 miles back," Naruto said, walking past them. He didn't stride with his old bouncy energy, he moved with a fluid, liquid grace, his feet barely making a sound on the stone. He said he needed to do some research before facing the old hag. I decided not to wait. Naruto stepped through the gates of Konoha. He took a deep breath, and for a second, the violet tint in his eyes faded, replaced by a glint of genuine nostalgia. "It hasn't changed," he murmured. "It's so fragile." Sakura Haruno paced the length of the Hokage's office, wearing a path into the carpet. Tsunade sat behind the desk, a vein throbbing in her temple as she stamped paperwork with unnecessary violence. Shizun stood by the window, holding Tauntaun the pig, looking anxious. He should have been here by noon, Sakura said, checking the clock for the 10th time. It's been 3 years. 3 years. And he's late because Jiraiya is probably peeping on women. Sit down, Sakura, Tsunade snapped, though there was no real heat in it. She was nervous too. The reports Jiraiya had sent over the last 3 years had been sporadic and strange. They spoke of training in places that didn't exist on any map. They spoke of food. So much food. And they spoke of a power that Jiraiya couldn't quite describe. I just want to see if he's grown up, Sakura sighed, leaning against the wall. If he's still the same idiot, I swear I'll. The door didn't open. There was no knock. One moment, the center of the room was empty. The next, Naruto was standing there. He hadn't used the body flicker technique. There was no puff of smoke, no swirl of leaves. It was as if reality had simply edited him into the frame. Tsunade dropped her pen. Sakura froze, her mouth slightly open. Naruto looked around the office, his hands tucked into the pockets of his black cloak. He looked at Tsunade, then at Sakura. A slow grin spread across his face, but it lacked the goofy wit of his childhood. It was confident. Assured. Hey, Grandma, Naruto said. He turned to Sakura. Forehead. You. Sakura's shock was overridden by reflex. She marched forward, raising a fist. You don't just warp into the Hokage's office. And don't call me forehead. She threw the punch. It was a friendly strike, mostly, but backed by the monstrous strength Tsunade had taught her. It would have cracked a rib if it connected. Naruto didn't block. He didn't dodge. He simply shifted his weight. Sakura's fist passed through the space where his head had been a millisecond before. The momentum carried her forward, and she stumbled. A hand caught her gently by the back of her vest, steadying her. Careful, Sakura, Naruto's voice was right in her ear. You're open on the left. Sakura spun around, sweeping his arm away. She backed up, staring at him. Her instincts were screaming. I didn't see him move. I was watching him, and I didn't see him move. Naruto. Tsunade stood up, her eyes narrowed. She was sensing it too, the void. Usually, a ninja's presence was loud, a burning fire of chakra. Naruto felt like a deep well. How did you get past the ANBU detail in the hallway? I walked, Naruto said simply. He walked over to the window and hopped up to sit on the sill, looking out over the village. They just didn't perceive me. It's a trick Whis taught me. If you don't emit any intent, you don't exist to them. Whis? Sakura asked. Who is Whis? I thought you were with Jiraiya. I was, Naruto said. He picked up a potted plant from the windowsill, examining the leaves with intense fascination. But Pervy Sage mostly just cooked and took notes. My real teacher, he was a bit more demanding. He set the plant down. The leaves, which had been wilting in the heat, were suddenly vibrant green and upright. So, Naruto turned back to them, crossing his arms. I'm back. I'm hungry. And I'm guessing Kakashi-sensei is late. Tsunade sank back into her chair. She exchanged a look with Shizun. There was something wrong. No, not wrong, different. The boy who had left the village shouting about being Hokage had returned with the bearing of a retired general. Kakashi is waiting at the third training ground, Tsunade said. He wants to test your skills. To see if you're ready for active duty. Naruto laughed. It was a dry, rasping sound. A test. All right. Let's get it over with. I want ramen. The third training ground was quiet, save for the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. Kakashi Hatake leaned against the memorial stone, his single visible eye fixed on Ika tactics, but he wasn't reading. He was listening. He had sensed the disturbance when Naruto entered the village. It had felt like a sudden drop in barometric pressure. "Yo, sensei." Kakashi didn't look up. "You're early, Naruto. I expected you to be catching up with Sakura." "She's here," Naruto said. Kakashi looked up. Naruto was standing in the center of the clearing, looking relaxed. Sakura was standing by the tree line, looking pale. So, Kakashi snapped his book shut and tucked it into his pouch. 3 years. I'm curious to see what Jiraiya taught you. The rules are the same as last time. Take these bells from me. He held up 2 silver bells. They chimed softly. Come at me with the intent to kill, Kakashi said, lifting his headband to reveal the Sharingan. If you don't, you won't even scratch me. Naruto sighed. He unclasped his heavy black cloak and let it drop to the ground. It hit the grass with a heavy thud, as if it weighed 100 pounds. Underneath, he wore a simple dark gi, loose-fitting, tied with a purple sash. Intent to kill, Naruto repeated. He looked at Kakashi, and for a split second, the air around him shivered. Are you sure, sensei? I don't think you want that. Kakashi's eye widened. Every hair on his body stood on end. Come. Naruto vanished. It wasn't speed. Lee was fast. The 4th Hokage was fast. This was displacement. Naruto appeared directly in front of Kakashi, face to face, his hands hanging loosely at his sides. Kakashi reacted on pure instinct, driving a kunai toward Naruto's stomach. Naruto didn't block. He raised one finger. Clang. The kunai stopped. It didn't hit skin, it hit an invisible barrier a millimeter from Naruto's fingertip. A shockwave of purple energy rippled out, blowing the grass flat for 20 meters in every direction. Kakashi was thrown back. He flipped in the air, landing in a crouch, his Sharingan spinning wildly. He didn't use chakra. That wasn't a jutsu. What was that? Is that it? Naruto asked. He hadn't moved. I thought the copy ninja would have some new tricks. Shadow clone jutsu. Kakashi weaved signs rapidly. For lightning clones surged forward, surrounding Naruto, blades crackling with Chidori. Naruto closed his eyes. As the clones struck, Naruto spun. It was a lazy pirouette. A trail of violet light followed his hand. He didn't touch the clones. The violet light simply brushed the air near them. Hiss. The clones didn't poof into smoke. They disintegrated. They turned into fine dust that vanished before it hit the ground. Kakashi froze. The real Kakashi was hiding underground, preparing a decapitation strike, but he stopped. He had seen it with his Sharingan. The chakra in those clones hadn't been dispersed, it had been erased. Naruto stomped his foot. The ground erupted. Not from an explosion, but from pure force. The earth fractured, forcing Kakashi to burst from the soil to avoid being crushed. He landed, breathing hard, staring at his student. You're distracted, Naruto said. He was holding the bells. Kakashi patted his waist. They were gone. When? You rely too much on your eyes, Naruto said, tossing the bells up and catching them. You look for hand signs. You look for chakra buildup. You're looking for the mechanics of the world. Naruto crushed the bells. He squeezed his hand, and when he opened it, fine silver powder drifted away on the wind. I learned to look at the space between the mechanics, Naruto said softly. Sakura watched from the sidelines, her hands covering her mouth. This wasn't a spar. It was a predator toying with a domesticated animal. Naruto, Kakashi said, straightening up. He pulled his headband down, covering the Sharingan. He looked tired. What kind of training did you do? Naruto looked at his hand, brushing the silver dust off his palm. I learned that creation is hard, sensei. But destruction? Destruction is very, very easy. Evening fell over Konoha, painting the stone. Faces of the Hokage in shades of deep amber. The village was lively, the barbecue restaurants filling up with civilians and ninja alike. In a private booth at the back of a high-end izakaya, Jiraiya poured another cup of sake. His hand was shaking. Just a little. Stop drinking and talk, Tsunade said. She had cast a silence barrier around their booth. The report you sent was gibberish. A god of destruction. Celestial audit. Jiraiya, what did you do to him? Jiraiya downed the sake and slammed the cup onto the table. I didn't do anything. It was an accident. We were 3 months into the trip. We were in the land of iron, near the northern peaks. Naruto was trying to master a variation of the Rasengan. He tapped into something. The Nine Tails? Tsunade asked. No, Jiraiya shook his head. Older. We were near an ancient shrine. Nobody goes there. They say it's haunted. Naruto, being Naruto, went inside to eat his lunch. He offered a steamed bun to the statue of a purple cat. Tsunade raised an eyebrow. A cat. The statue wasn't a statue, Jiraiya whispered, leaning in. It woke up, Tsunade. It woke up and it was hungry. It ate the bun. Then it complained about the seasoning. Then it looked at Naruto and said he had potential for erasure. Beerus, Tsunade said the name Naruto had mentioned. Lord Beerus, Jiraiya corrected instinctively. He took Naruto. He said he was bored and that the boy had a spirited energy. He took him to a place where time moves differently. A planet, Tsunade. A literal other world. You're drunk, Tsunade said, though her stomach was churning. I wish I was. They were gone for 2 years. When Naruto came back, he was different. The Nine Tails is terrified of him. I can't sense Kurama's chakra anymore because the fox is hiding inside Naruto, staying as small as possible. Jiraiya looked Tsunade in the eye. Naruto learned Hakai. Destruction energy. It's not a jutsu. It's the authority to remove things from existence. If he loses control, if he gets angry, he won't just destroy the village. He could erase the country. Tsunade stared at her old teammate. Is he a threat? Jiraiya hesitated. He looked out the window, where the lights of the village twinkled. No. He's still Naruto. He still wants to protect this place. But he's not a ninja anymore, Tsunade. We're playing with shuriken and kunai. He's holding a nuke. While his teachers panicked in the shadows, Naruto sat at a chiraku ramen. The stall was warm, filled with the savory scent of pork broth. Naruto had already finished 7 bowls. The stack stood like a monument next to him. Another. Naruto announced, slamming the bowl down. Coming right up. Tucci beamed. This was familiar. This was normal. I missed having a customer who knows how to eat. Naruto grinned, breaking apart a pair of chopsticks. But as he waited, his smile faded slightly. He could feel them. The villagers passing by outside. He could sense their life forces, small, flickering candles. They were so fragile. A sudden wind could snuff them out. After spending 2 years with Beerus and Whis, watching stars die and civilizations crumble for the sake of universal balance, coming back to Konoha felt like stepping into a house made of cards. Mind if I sit? Naruto didn't look up. Shikamaru. Temari. Shikamaru Nara slid onto the stool next to him. He looked older, his vest newly flak-jacketed, signaling his promotion. Temari stood behind him, her giant fan strapped to her back. You're back, Shikamaru said. Troublesome entry. The gate guards are still spooked. I heard you fought Kakashi, Temari added, leaning against the counter. She eyed Naruto critically. Rumor says you didn't even use a jutsu. Rumors are loud, Naruto said, accepting his 8th bowl from Tucci. He slurped the noodles loudly. So, you two are dating now? Shikamaru choked on air. Temari turned a shade of pink that matched the pork on Naruto's ramen. We are escorting the Sand diplomatic envoy, Temari snapped. Which is me. The Chunin exams are coming up. Exams, Naruto chuckled. Right. The tests. He put his chopsticks down. The levity vanished from his face. He turned to look at Temari. How is Gaara? Temari blinked at the sudden shift in tone. He's fine. He's Kazekage now. He's busy. Is he? Naruto's eyes bore into hers. The violet flecks swirled. I have a bad feeling, Temari. The wind smells like dried blood. Don't be creepy, Naruto, Shikamaru said, frowning. Gaara is strong. The sand is secure. Naruto didn't answer. He looked up at the moon hanging above the street. Secure. Nothing is secure. Only temporary. Before Shikamaru could ask what that meant, an ANBU operative landed silently behind them. The mask was a hawk. Uzumaki Naruto. Shikamaru Nara. Temari of the Sand. The Hokage demands your presence immediately. Naruto stood up. He left a stack of Ryo on the counter, far more than the meal cost. Keep the change, old man, Naruto said to Tucci. He turned to the ANBU. It's the Akatsuki, isn't it? The ANBU stiffened. How did you? I told you, Naruto said, his voice dropping an octave, resonating in their chests. The wind smells like blood. The atmosphere in the Hokage's office was suffocating. Tsunade stood by the window, her back to the room. Jiraiya leaned against the wall, his face grim. Sakura and Kakashi were already there. When Naruto, Shikamaru, and Temari entered, the tension snapped. We received an emergency hawk from Sunagakure, Tsunade said, turning around. Her eyes were hard. The Kazekage has been abducted. Temari gasped, grabbing Shikamaru's arm for support. Gaara? Who? Who could take him? The Akatsuki, Kakashi said. 2 members infiltrated the village. Deidara and Sasori. They took him alive. We assume they are after the One Tail. They want to extract the beast. Chiyo, the elder of Suna who had arrived via a high-speed transmission seal, a diplomatic courtesy, stepped out from the shadows of the room. If they do, Gaara will die. Silence filled the room. Everyone looked at Naruto. They expected him to scream. To shout. To demand they leave immediately. Naruto stood perfectly still. His expression was unreadable. He closed his eyes and inhaled deeply. He reached out with his senses. Not for chakra, but for the specific, chaotic signature of the tailed beasts. He felt them across the continent. He felt the One Tail. It was moving. Faint, but there. They are heading to the land of rivers, Naruto said softly. A cave. How can you possibly know that? Jiraiya asked. Naruto opened his eyes. The violet glow was back, brighter this time. The air in the office began to vibrate. The plants in the corner withered instantly. Because I can hear the seal breaking, Naruto said. He walked toward the door. The floorboards creaked under the weight of his presence. Naruto, wait. Tsunade ordered. We need a strategy. The Akatsuki are S-rank criminals. We need to assemble a support team. No, Naruto stopped. He didn't turn around. Send Team Guy if you want. Send Kakashi. But I'm not going there to rescue Gaara. What? Sakura cried out. He's your friend. Naruto turned his head. His face was a mask of cold, divine judgment. I'm going there to judge them, Naruto said. He raised his hand, and a small sphere of purple energy manifested in his palm. It looked like a miniature star, crackling with the sound of destruction. If Gaara is dead, Naruto said, the sphere casting long, terrifying shadows across the room, then I will not just kill them. I will erase them from the cycle of reincarnation. There will be no afterlife for them. Just void. He crushed the sphere. The light vanished. Team Kakashi, move out, Naruto commanded. And for the first time in the history of the Leaf, the Hokage didn't countermand him. She couldn't. She was too busy trying to keep her hands from trembling. Chapter 2, Sand and Dust. The Wind Country did not welcome visitors, it scoured them. The desert was a vast, open kiln where the heat rose in shimmering waves, distorting the horizon until the sky and the sand bled into a single, blinding shade of white gold. Team Kakashi moved through the dunes at a pace that would have killed horses. Kakashi took point, his cowl pulled up against the grit. Sakura and Lady Chiyo followed, their movements efficient, conserving chakra. And then there was Naruto. He did not run. He skimmed. While the others leaped from dune crest to dune crest, kicking up sprays of sand, Naruto hovered 3 inches off the ground. His arms were crossed behind his head, his body angled forward, carried by an invisible current. He didn't disturb a single grain of sand. The heavy black cloak he wore didn't flap in the wind, it hung still, as if existing in its own personal gravity. It's unnatural, Chiyo muttered, her voice raspy. She glanced at the boy floating beside her. He moves like a ghost. No chakra footprint. No sound. Sakura wiped sweat from her brow, her eyes fixed on Naruto's back. He's changed, Lady Chiyo. I'm still trying to figure out how much. We have company, Kakashi's voice cut through the wind. He skid to a halt atop a high ridge. Below them, standing in the middle of a flat expanse of hard-packed earth, stood a figure in a black cloak with red clouds. The wind whipped at his long, dark hair. Itachi Uchiha. Sakura stiffened, her hands flying to a defensive seal. Chiyo's eyes narrowed, her fingers twitching as she prepped her chakra threads. Itachi, Kakashi said, his lone eye widening. Don't look into his eyes. Watch his feet. His genjutsu is, he's not real, Naruto interrupted. Naruto drifted past Kakashi, descending from the ridge until he stood 10 meters from the Akatsuki member. He didn't take a combat stance. He looked bored. Itachi raised his head. The Sharingan spun slowly, crimson pinwheels against the black scara. Naruto Uzumaki. You've grown. The Ninetales must be restless. And you're fading, Naruto replied. He tilted his head. 30% chakra. A sacrificial host using the shape-shifting technique. You're not even here, Itachi. You're sitting in a cave somewhere, meditating. Itachi's expression didn't change, but the air around him grew heavy. Insightful. But even a fraction of my power is enough to detain you. Itachi pointed a finger. Ephemeral. The world dissolved. Sakura screamed as the desert turned into a sea of crows. The sky bled red. Dozens of Itachis erupted from the ground, driving katanas into Kakashi and Chiyo. It was the classic psychological torture of the Uchiha elite. Naruto stood in the middle of the nightmare. A crow landed on his shoulder, pecking at his ear. Genjutsu, Naruto sighed. Manipulating the chakra flow in the cranial nerves to induce hallucinations. It works because the victim has chakra that can be disturbed. Naruto opened his eyes. They were glowing with that terrifying violet hue. He didn't flare his chakra. He didn't yell, release. He simply exerted. A shockwave of pure, unadulterated pressure exploded from his body. It wasn't wind, it was authority. The god of destruction energy didn't mix with other chakras, it dominated them. The red sky shattered like a glass mirror dropped on concrete. The crows vaporized into black smoke. The illusion didn't just end, it was crushed out of existence. Back in reality, the desert returned instantly. Sakura gasped, falling to her knees, the phantom pain of the genjutsu fading. Kakashi shook his head, clearing the fog. Itachi, the clone, stumbled back. For the first time, the Uchiha looked genuinely unsettled. His cloak was fraying at the edges, dissolving into dust. You broke the Tsukimi variation with raw pressure. Itachi whispered. What are you? Naruto appeared in front of him. There was no speed lines, no blur. He was just there. He placed a hand on the clone's chest. I'm the guy who's going to erase your organization, Naruto said softly. Tell the real you that he's next. Hawkeye. It wasn't a shout. It was a statement of fact. Violet light engulfed the Itachi clone. There was no scream, no explosion. The clone simply ceased to be. The sacrificial body, Asuna ninja used as a medium, didn't even leave a corpse. The technique, the chakra, and the matter were wiped from the timeline of the present. Naruto turned back to his stunned team. Let's go. We wasted 2 minutes. The land of rivers was a lush contrast to the desert, but the air was thick with humidity and dread. They met up with Team Guy outside the Akatsuki hideout, a massive boulder blocking the entrance to a cave system. The 5-seal barrier, Niji Hyuga reported, his Byakugan activated. There are 4 tags spread out across the forest. We need to remove them simultaneously too, that will take too long. Naruto walked up to the boulder. Wait, Naruto. Guy shouted, flashing a thumbs up that faltered when he saw Naruto's cold expression. The barrier is rigged. If you touch it, it will trigger a counterattack. Barriers work on the logic of chakra resistance, Naruto muttered, inspecting the rock. It's a wall. If you hit a wall hard enough, it breaks. If you remove the wall's ability to exist, it's even easier. He raised his right hand, palm facing the boulder. Everyone, step back, Kakashi ordered sharply, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Naruto's fingers curled slightly. A small, oscillating orb of purple energy formed in his palm. It was the size of a marble, but it hummed with a sound that made Niji's teeth ache. Naruto flicked his wrist. The marble struck the boulder. There was no debris. No flying rocks. A perfectly circular hole, 10 feet in diameter, appeared in the rock face. The stone that had been there hadn't been pushed aside, it had been deleted. The edges of the tunnel were smooth as glass, glowing faintly purple. The barrier seals in the forest burned away harmlessly, their connection to the main gate severed because the main gate no longer existed. Entry secure, Naruto said, walking into the dark. The cavern was vast, illuminated by the ghostly blue light of chakra candles. In the center, the massive, grotesque statue of the Geto Mazo sat with its hands outspread. And there, lying on the cold ground, was Gaara. He was pale. Too pale. The dark rings around his eyes seemed etched into his skin. He wasn't breathing. Sitting on Gaara's chest was a young man with long blonde hair and a ponytail, Deidara. Beside him, a hunched figure with a scorpion tail, Sasori. Well, Deidara grinned, hopping off Gaara's corpse. The Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. You're late, We're already done here. Naruto stopped. The violet aura that usually simmered beneath his skin vanished. He looked completely normal. And that was terrifying. Sakura, get to Gaara, Naruto said. His voice was flat. I won't let you. Sasori hissed. His tail lashed out, tipped with deadly poison. Kakashi moved to intercept, but Naruto was faster. He didn't move toward Sasori, he moved toward the tail. He caught the steel scorpion appendage with his bare hand. Crunch. The metal crumpled like wet paper. Naruto ripped the tail off the puppet body and tossed it aside. Chio, Sakura, handle the puppet, Naruto ordered, his eyes fixed on Deidara. Kakashi, back them up. This one. He pointed at the bomber. Is mine. Deidara laughed, reaching into his clay pouches. Yours? You arrogant brat. My art is an explosion. Let's see how you handle this. He threw 2 handfuls of clay spiders. They skittered across the floor, leaping toward Naruto. Katsu. The explosion was imminent. The chakra in the clay spiked. Naruto didn't flinch. He walked forward. As the spiders detonated, he swept his hand through the air in a backhand motion. The fire, the shockwave, and the debris hit an invisible wall of erasure. The explosion happened, but it was consumed instantly by the void surrounding Naruto. It looked like a film reel being burned, the frames of the explosion simply vanished, leaving empty air. Deidara blinked. What? My art, where did it go? Your art is noisy, Naruto said, taking another step. Don't mock me. Deidara screamed. He sculpted rapidly. A giant clay dragon materialized, roaring with potential energy. C2 dragon. I'll blow this whole cave to hell. The dragon lunged, mouth gaping, ready to release a guided missile. Naruto looked up. Beerus-sama hates loud noises when he's napping. You're annoying. Naruto vanished. He reappeared standing on top of the clay dragon's head. Deidara, riding the dragon, looked up in horror. Destruction, Naruto whispered, placing his palm on the dragon's clay skull. The dragon didn't explode. It turned gray. Then it turned into dust. The massive construct disintegrated beneath Deidara's feet, sending the Akatsuki member free-falling toward the cave floor. Deidara twisted in the air, landing cat-like, but his confidence was shattered. He scrambled back, his hands shaking as he reached for more clay. You're a monster. What jutsu is that? Earth style. Dust style. Naruto landed softly in front of him. You treat life like a joke. You think killing is art. Naruto grabbed Deidara by the throat. He lifted the bomber off the ground. Let me show you what true erasure looks like. Wait. Kakashi yelled from across the room, having just helped Sakura smash Sasori's Hiriko puppet. Naruto, we need him for intel on the other Jinchuriki. Naruto paused. The purple energy swirling around his hand halted inches from Deidara's face. Deidara, realizing he was about to die, did the only thing a fanatic could do. He ripped his shirt open, revealing a stitched mouth on his chest. He fed it a massive ball of clay. I'll kill us all. Deidara shrieked. Ultimate art. C0. His body began to turn translucent, veins glowing with blinding light. He was turning himself into a tactical nuke. The blast radius would be 10 kilometers. Run! Kakashi screamed. Naruto didn't run. He looked at the glowing Deidara with a mixture of pity and annoyance. You really don't get it, Naruto said. He placed both hands on Deidara's glowing chest. You can't explode if the energy doesn't exist. Naruto pushed. He didn't push Deidara away, he pushed his ki inside. The blinding light of the C0 technique didn't expand. It imploded. The suicide bomb was eaten from the inside out. Deidara's scream was cut short as his body, the clay, and the chakra were compressed into a singularity of purple light, and then, pop. Silence. No crater. No dust. Deidara was simply gone. Naruto stood alone in the center of the room. He dusted off his hands. Across the cavern, the battle with Sasori had stopped. The puppet master, now revealed in his true form, was staring at Naruto. Chio and Sakura were staring at Naruto. He erased the suicide technique. Chiyo whispered, her combat puppets clattering to the floor. That explosion should have wiped out the forest. Naruto walked over to where Sakura was kneeling beside Gaara. He ignored the terrified looks from his allies. Sakura, Naruto said, his voice losing the cold edge, returning to something softer, more human. How is he? Sakura was crying. Her hands were glowing with medical chakra, hovering over Gaara's chest. She shook her head. I can't feel anything, she sobbed. His heart isn't beating. The extraction, it killed him instantly. Naruto stared down at Gaara. He looked sleeping. Naruto clenched his fists. The purple aura flared violently, cracking the ground beneath him. For a moment, the destroyer facade cracked, revealing the grieving boy underneath. I trained for 3 years, Naruto whispered, his voice trembling. I learned to destroy moons. I learned to fight gods. But I can't. He looked at his hands. I can only destroy. I can't bring him back. It was the cruel irony of his path. He had the ultimate power, but it was the power of an executioner, not a savior. Lady Chiyo stepped forward. She looked at Naruto, then at Gaara. She saw the raw pain in the monster's eyes. Power has many forms, brat, Chiyo croaked. She knelt beside Gaara. You have the power to protect the future. But the past, that is for the old to handle. Granny Chiyo. Naruto watched as she placed her hands on Gaara's chest. Her chakra turned a brilliant, life-affirming blue. This is a transfer jutsu, Chiyo said, her skin beginning to gray, her life force draining visibly. Sakura, place your hands over mine. Lend me your chakra. The boy needs to wake up. Naruto watched in silence. He felt Chiyo's flame flickering out. He understood what she was doing. A life for a life. Creation and destruction. The balance of the universe. Beerus would have called it sentimental foolishness. Whis would have called it a beautiful anomaly. Naruto just called it hope. He stepped back, standing guard. He couldn't heal Gaara, but he could ensure that nothing in this world, not Sasori, not Zetsu, not Madara himself, would interrupt this miracle. As Gaara's chest heaved with a sudden, gasping breath, and Chiyo slumped forward, dead, Naruto looked up at the ceiling of the cave. I will change this world, Naruto vowed to the silence. I will destroy the cycle of hatred, even if I have to erase every single person who perpetuates it. In the shadows of the cave entrance, unseen by everyone, a small white snake slithered away, carrying the scent of a god to Orochimaru. Chapter 3, The Immortal and the Eraser. The Bounty Station was a nondescript bathroom block made of gray stone, hidden deep within the forested borders of the Land of Fire. It smelled of bleach, stale urine, and copper. Asuma Sarutobi stood in a clearing outside, the rain slicking his hair against his skull. His trench knives were drawn, chakra blades humming with a sharp, wind-edged whine. Beside him, Shikamaru was crouched, his hands woven into the rat seal, sweat mixing with the rain on his forehead. Izumo and Kotetsu lay in the mud nearby, battered, breathing shallowly. Facing them stood the immortals. Haiden swung his three-bladed scythe in lazy, arrogant circles. He was laughing, a wet, manic sound that grated against the nerves. Lord Jashin is hungry today. A guardian of the 12. That's a main course. Kakuzu stood further back, holding a heavy briefcase, looking bored. Hurry up, Haiden. The money doesn't count until the body is turned in. Shut up, miser. Haiden screamed, launching himself forward. Let me savor the pain. The speed was deceptive. The scythe hooked around Asuma's guard. Asuma ducked, the blade shearing off a lock of his beard, but Haiden twisted the cable, retracting the weapon for a backstab. Shadow Strangle Jutsu. Shikamaru yelled. The shadows surged, latching onto Haiden's boots. Haiden grinned. He didn't stop. He yanked the cable with inhuman strength, dragging the scythe blade toward Asuma's kidney. Your shadows are too slow for a ritual, kid. Asuma couldn't dodge. He braced himself, preparing to take the hit to protect his students. He grit his teeth around his cigarette, accepting the inevitable steel. The steel never arrived. A hand, pale and wrapped in violet bandages, reached out of the empty air and caught the blade of the scythe. There was no sound of impact. No clang of metal on skin. The scythe simply stopped dead, the momentum killed instantly. Haydn blinked. He yanked on the cable. The scythe didn't budge. What the? Naruto Uzumaki stood between Asuma and the weapon. He was looking at the red blades of the scythe with mild curiosity. 3 blades, Naruto murmured. Inefficient. It increases the surface area but reduces the cutting power. It's designed to draw blood, not to kill. Naruto. Asuma gasped, lowering his knives. Get back. If he gets your blood, you're done. Naruto ignored him. He looked up at Haydn. The rain seemed to curve around Naruto, leaving him perfectly dry. The water droplets evaporated into steam inches from his skin. Who the hell are you? Haydn barked, his eyes narrowing. Let go of my toy, you little punk, or I'll sacrifice you first. Sacrifice, Naruto tasted the word. You talk a lot about gods. You pray to Jashin. Naruto squeezed. The metal of the scythe groaned. It didn't bend, it began to turn into purple dust. The corrosion spread rapidly from Naruto's grip, traveling up the metal shaft, eating the chain. Haydn shrieked and dropped the cable as the purple decay raced toward his hands. The weapon, a tool that had slaughtered hundreds, dissolved into a pile of metallic sand in the mud. My scythe. Haydn stared at the pile, then at Naruto. His face twisted into a mask of pure rage. You bastard. That was a holy relic. It was scrap metal, Naruto said. He stepped forward. The mud didn't squelch under his boots. I'm here to audit your faith, Haydn. Show me this immortality. Kakuzu, sensing the shift in the air, dropped the briefcase. His skin darkened, using his earth spear technique to harden his body to the density of diamond. Haydn, stop playing. This kid, his chakra feels wrong. I don't care. Haydn pulled a retractable spike from his robe. He was fast, faster than before, fueled by religious fury. I'll kill him. I'll curse him. Haydn lunged. It was a suicidal attack, wide open, inviting a counter. He just needed a scratch. Just one drop of blood. Naruto didn't dodge. He stood there, arms at his sides. Haydn's spike drove straight into Naruto's palm. Shikamaru screamed. Naruto. Haydn laughed, pulling the spike back. It was coated in blood. Gotcha. You idiot. You stood right there. Haydn leaped back, drawing the symbol of Jashin in the mud with his foot. He licked the blood off the spike. His skin turned black, white skeletal markings appearing over his body. Ritual complete. Haydn cackled, stepping into the circle. He raised the spike over his own heart. Now feel the pain of Jashin. When I die, you die. Asuma lunged forward. Stop him. Wait, Naruto's voice stopped Asuma in his tracks. Naruto held up his hand. The wound in his palm wasn't bleeding anymore. It was closing, knitting together with faint purple energy. He looked bored. Go ahead, Naruto said to Haydn. Stab yourself. Haydn froze. The victim was supposed to be begging. Crying. Panicking. This boy was watching him like a scientist observing a lab rat. Cocky brat, Haydn snarled. Fine. Die screaming. Haydn drove the spike into his own chest, piercing his heart. Shikamaru flinched, expecting Naruto to collapse. Haiden coughed blood. He grinned, waiting for Naruto to scream. Naruto didn't scream. He didn't fall. He tilted his head. Is that it? Haiden's eyes widened. He looked at his chest, then at Naruto. What? Why aren't you dead? I drank your blood. The link is established. You drank my blood, Naruto agreed. He took a step forward. The pressure in the clearing spiked. The trees began to crack. But you don't understand what my blood is. Naruto's aura flared. It wasn't the red bubbling chakra of the fox. It was a cold, violet flame that looked like the edge of a black hole. My cells are saturated with destruction energy, Naruto explained calmly. By connecting your life force to mine, you didn't curse me. You opened a door to the void. Haiden screamed. It wasn't a scream of pain from the stab wound. It was a scream of existential horror. The black and white skin of his ritual form began to peel away. Not like skin, but like paint stripper. Beneath it, there was no muscle, no bone. Just emptiness. Kakuzu. Help me. Haiden flailed, dropping the spike. His legs were dissolving. It's eating me. It's eating Jashin. Kakuzu watched, his eyes wide with a fear he hadn't felt since he fought the first Hokage. The ritual, it backfired? No, the target's energy is consuming the caster. You claim immortality. Naruto walked up to the edge of the blood circle. Haiden was on his knees, his lower half already gone, erased from reality. You think simply not dying makes you a god. But you still exist within the laws of creation. You still need a body. Naruto reached out and placed a hand on Haiden's forehead. I am outside those laws. Stop. Stop. Haiden wailed, tears of blood streaming down his face. I repent. I repent. Hakai. The flash of purple light was silent. When Shikamaru blinked the spots from his eyes, the circle was empty. No body. No blood. No spike. Haiden was gone. It was as if he had never stood there at all. Naruto turned his gaze to Kakuzu. The veteran bounty hunter took a step back. He had lived for nearly a century. He had 5 hearts. He had mastered all 5 elements. He was a survivor. And his survival instincts were screaming one word, flee. Earth style, earth flow spears. Kakuzu slammed his hands onto the ground, creating a distraction, a forest of stone spikes erupting toward the Konoha ninja. Simultaneously, Kakuzu detached his masks, sending them flying as decoys while he sprinted toward the tree line. He moved faster than he ever had in his life. He abandoned the briefcase. He abandoned the bounty. A shadow appeared in front of him. It wasn't Naruto. It was Asuma. Asuma, bolstered by the shock and the sudden turn of the tide, had flanked him. He swung his trench knives, channeling wind chakra. Kakuzu blocked with his hardened arms, but he was distracted, terrified of the purple monster behind him. Out of my way. You tried to kill my students, Asuma growled. He exhaled a cloud of ash. Fire style, ash pile burning. The explosion engulfed Kakuzu. He roared, bursting through the smoke, his cloak burning. He had to get away. He looked up. Naruto was hovering above the trees. He wasn't chasing. He was just watching. He raised a finger. Kakuzu's heart, all 5 of them, stuttered. He's letting me go, Kakuzu realized with a chill that froze his marrow. He wants me to tell people. Kakuzu didn't look back. He vanished into the forest, running until his lungs burned, running until he was miles away from the land of fire. Back in the clearing, the rain had stopped. Shikamaru stood up slowly, his legs shaking. He looked at the empty spot where Haiden had been. He looked at Naruto, who was inspecting his healed palm. "Naruto," Shikamaru said, his voice dry. What did you do to him?" "I removed him," Naruto said. He turned to Asuma. "Are you hurt, sensei?" Asuma sheathed his knives. He looked at Naruto, really looked at him. He saw the whiskers, the blue eyes, the messy blonde hair. But he also saw the way the world seemed to bend away from him, as if reality was afraid to touch him. "I'm fine, thanks to you," Asuma said. He lit a new cigarette, his hands trembling slightly. "But Naruto, that wasn't a jutsu. Haiden is, he's not in the Pure Land, is he?" "No," Naruto said softly. "People like him don't deserve the Pure Land. They don't deserve hell. They deserve zero." Naruto walked past them, heading back toward the village. "We should head back. Grandma Tsunade will want a report. And I think Chaoji wanted to get barbecue." Shikamaru watched his friend walk away. "He's talking about barbecue," Shikamaru whispered to Asuma. "He just erased a man from existence, and he's thinking about ribs. He's not just a ninja anymore, Shikamaru." Asuma exhaled smoke, watching the smoke vanish into the air. "I don't know if he's a savior or a calamity. But I'm glad he's on our side. For now," Shikamaru muttered. "For now." The landscape was desolate, a graveyard of white dust and craters. The castle of the Otsutsuki clan stood silent, a mausoleum to a dead lineage. Tonari Otsutsuki, the last guardian, slept in his stasis, waiting for the decree of the millennium. But someone else was awake. A ripple appeared in the space above the moon's surface. A figure stepped out of a black portal. He held a fishing rod glowing with red chakra, and a basket hung at his hip. His skin was pale, his horns curved flat against his head. Urashiki Otsutsuki floated down, his feet touching the lunar dust. "What a dreary place," Urashiki smirked. He looked around at the ruins. Hamura's descendants really let the property value drop. He closed his eyes, sensing the chakra of the world below. He was looking for the tailed beasts. He was looking for the dispersed chakra of Kagaya. But then, his eyes snapped open. His Byakugan flared. He felt it. A spike of energy from the planet below. It wasn't chakra. It was something sharper. Something darker. Something that tasted like the end of all things. "Hakai." Urashiki whispered, his smirk vanishing. He looked down at the blue-green marble of Earth. Impossible. A mortal wielding the energy of a destroyer god. In this sector. He chuckled, a low, dangerous sound. He swung his fishing rod, the red hook glistening. "It seems the harvest has become complicated. The main family will want a report on this. But first." Urashiki licked his lips. "I wonder if I can steal that power for myself. Imagine, an Otsutsuki with the power of erasure." He stepped off the edge of the crater, floating down toward the atmosphere. "Ready or not, little destroyer. Here I come." Chapter 4, Rain falls upwards. The rain in Konoha was soft, a gentle drumming against the roof tiles that smelled of wet earth and pine. It was the kind of rain that encouraged sleep. Jiraiya stood at the village gates, the drizzle darkening the shoulders of his red vest. He tightened the straps of his pack, his face set in a grimace that aged him 10 years. He hadn't told Tsunade he was leaving tonight. If he had, she would have broken his legs to keep him there. The intel on the Akatsuki leader was too specific, too dangerous to ignore. Someone had to infiltrate the hidden rain. Going somewhere, pervy sage. Jiraiya froze. He didn't turn around immediately. He sighed, watching his breath fog in the cool air. "I'm just going for a walk, brat. Go back to bed." "A walk to Amigakure." Naruto leaned against the gatepost. He wasn't wearing his destroyer's cloak tonight, just a simple dark hoodie, hands shoved into the pockets. The shadows of the gate clung to him, curving unnaturally toward his boots. Jiraiya turned. It's an infiltration mission. S rank. It requires subtlety, espionage, and experience. Things you don't have. And you think you'll come back? Naruto asked. It wasn't a taunt, it was a genuine question. Jiraiya forced a grin. I'm the Toad Sage of Mount Myaboku. I always come back. You're lying. Naruto pushed off the post and walked closer. The rain stopped falling on him. It wasn't a technique, the droplets simply ceased to exist an inch from his skin, creating a dry silhouette in the downpour. I can smell death on you, Naruto said quietly. You've made your peace. You wrote a letter to Grandma Tsunade, didn't you? You left it on her desk. Jiraiya's smile faltered. Naruto. The leader of the Akatsuki, if the rumors are true, he possesses the Rinnegan. The eyes of the Sage of Six Paths. If I don't confirm this, the village, if you go, you die, Naruto cut him off. And then I have to burn the world down to avenge you. That sounds exhausting. This is my duty. Jiraiya snapped, his voice rising. You are powerful, yes. But you are young. You don't understand the complexities of war, of history. There are things in the rain that you can't just punch. I don't punch things anymore, sensei. Naruto stepped past Jiraiya. He looked out into the darkness of the forest, toward the west. I'll go. You can't infiltrate a village. You're as subtle as a fireworks display. I don't need to infiltrate, Naruto said. He looked back over his shoulder. His eyes were blue, but the pupils were slit, the violet energy swimming in the iris. I'm not a spy, Jiraiya. I'm a verdict. Naruto, stop. Jiraiya reached out to grab Naruto's shoulder. His hand never made contact. Jiraiya felt a wall of force, smooth, cold, and infinite, block his palm. It wasn't chakra. It was the sensation of touching the event horizon of a star. His survival instincts screamed at him to recoil. Naruto didn't look back. He floated upward, his feet leaving the mud. Stay here. Write your books. Drink sake with Bachan, Naruto said, his voice echoing as if from a great distance. Let me handle the god of the rain. I know what real gods look like. He's not one of them. With a sudden boom that shattered the windows of the guard station, Naruto launched himself into the sky, leaving a trail of purple light that scarred the night. Jiraiya stood alone in the rain, his hand still outstretched, trembling. He looked at his palm. The calluses were stinging, as if they had been sunburned. Amigakure was a weeping sore on the face of the earth. The city was a vertical labyrinth of steel pipes, stone towers, and power lines, forever shrouded in gray clouds. The rain here was heavy, industrial, slick with oil and sorrow. It had rained every day for years, a technique maintained by the village's ruler to monitor every soul that moved within his borders. Pain sat on the tongue of the highest tower, his legs dangling over the abyss. The Deva Path. The vessel of Yahiko. His Rinnegan stared unblinkingly at the horizon. He is coming, Konan said. She materialized from a whirlwind of paper sheets behind him. The intruder. He bypassed the border patrol. I know, Pain said. His voice was a monotone baritone. The rain feels disturbed. Usually, the rain told him shape, chakra, and intent. But the rain falling on the intruder didn't report anything. It simply vanished. There was a hole in his sensory net, a void moving rapidly toward the center of the city. Is it Jiraiya? Konan asked. No, Pain stood up. The chakra signature is non-existent. But the pressure, it feels like the sky is falling. A sonic boom tore through the cloud layer. The heavy, leaden clouds above Amigakure swirled and parted. A perfect circle of blue sky, the first the city had seen in decades, punched through the gloom. Sunlight, stark and blinding, speared down into the central plaza. Descending through that pillar of light came Naruto. He landed in the center of the main square. The pavement cracked, spiderwebs of fissures racing out for hundreds of meters. The water in the surrounding canals violently receded, pushed back by the sheer displacement of his arrival. Naruto stood up and dusted off his hoodie. He looked around at the towering metal skyscrapers. Depressing, he muttered. Intruder, a voice boomed from everywhere and nowhere. Naruto looked up. Standing on a pipe 20 meters above him was a man with orange hair and piercings covering his face. He wore the Akatsuki cloak. So, you're the landlord, Naruto said. I am Pain, the Deva Path stated. I am God. You have disturbed the peace of my village. Naruto chuckled. It was a low, dry sound. God. Everyone calls themselves that these days. It's a very crowded title. You are Naruto Uzumaki, Pain said. The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. You have come to deliver yourself to me. This will save me the trouble of hunting you. 5 more figures leaped from the shadows, landing around Naruto in a perfect circle. The Animal Path. The Azura Path. The Preta Path. The Human Path. The Naraka Path. All of them wielded the Rinnegan. 6 of you, Naruto noted, glancing around. 6 corpses controlled by radio waves. Where is the real one? Pain's eyes narrowed slightly. You speak with arrogance. You know nothing of my pain. You know nothing of the wars that forged this land. I know that you killed your teacher's hope, Naruto said, his voice dropping. Jiraiya loved you. He thought you were the child of prophecy. And look at you. A puppet show. Silence. The Azura Path lunged. The bald, mechanical body opened its back, revealing a cluster of chakra-propelled missiles. Taste the judgment of God. The missiles fired. A dozen warheads streaked toward Naruto, trailing smoke. Naruto didn't move. He didn't weave a sign. He just looked at the missiles. Hakai. He didn't speak the word, he projected the intent. The missiles didn't explode. They didn't deflect. In mid-air, 10 feet from Naruto, they turned into gray dust. The warheads, the casing, the propellant, erased. The momentum carried the dust forward, washing over Naruto like a harmless breeze. The Azura Path paused, its mechanical logic processing the error. Naruto raised a hand. You like machines? Let me break your toys. He flicked his finger. A tiny bead of violet light shot forward. It hit the Azura Path in the chest. There was no bang. The Azura Path simply collapsed inward, its metal body crumpling as if sucked into a vacuum, before vanishing entirely. 1, Naruto counted. The Animal Path slapped the ground. Summoning Jutsu. A giant multi-headed dog, a rhino, and a bird shrieked into existence. They were undead summons, invincible. Multiplying when struck. The giant dog roared, saliva dripping from its jaws, and charged. Naruto sighed. Beerus-sama hates dogs. Too needy. Naruto leaped. He met the giant dog in the air. He didn't punch it, he placed his palm on its forehead. The dog howled, a sound that shifted from aggression to terror. The purple energy spread from Naruto's palm, consuming the beast. It didn't multiply. It didn't heal. The summoning contract itself was being burned. The dog dissolved into ink, and the ink evaporated into nothingness. Naruto landed on the rhino's back. He stomped. The rhino shattered into dust. He looked at the bird diving at him. He glared. A pulse of ki shot from his eyes. The bird squawked and popped out of existence. 2. 3. 4. Naruto counted, though he was erasing the summons, not the paths yet. The Preta path, the absorber, rushed in. It grabbed Naruto's arm from behind. I have you, Pain spoke through the Preta path. I will drain your chakra. The Preta path began to suck. It pulled at the energy inside Naruto. You want to eat my energy? Naruto looked over his shoulder, a cruel smile playing on his lips. Go ahead. Have a taste. He flooded his channels not with chakra, but with destruction energy. The Preta path bloated instantly. The energy was corrosive. It wasn't nourishment, it was poison. The path's hands began to melt. Its face bubbled. Too spicy? Naruto asked. The Preta path disintegrated, its absorption seal overloaded by the concept of entropy itself. 3 down, Naruto said, kicking the pile of dust that used to be a ninja. The Deva path, the main body, stood motionless on the pipe. For the first time, Nagato, sitting miles away in his paper tree, felt a flicker of genuine fear. Ninjutsu doesn't work. Taijutsu is suicide. Summons are erased. What is this power? Universal pull. Pain yelled. Gravity seized Naruto. He was yanked off the ground, flying toward the Deva path's outstretched hand. A black receiver rod extended from Pain's sleeve, ready to impale him. Naruto didn't fight the pull. He accelerated with it. Planetary Rasengan, Naruto whispered. But it wasn't a Rasengan. It was a dark purple orb, swirling with white sparks. Destroyer variation. As he flew toward Pain, he thrust the orb forward. Shinra Tensei. Pain screamed, unleashing a repelling force capable of leveling the city. The two forces collided. Gravity versus destruction. The air in Amigakure screamed. The water in the canals vaporized instantly. The steel tower they were standing on twisted like a wet towel. The Shinra Tensei pushed. But the Hakai ate. The purple orb chewed through the gravitational wall. It was a battle of concepts, and destruction was the ultimate end of all physics. The repulsive wave shattered. Naruto broke through. Pain's eyes widened. Naruto slammed the orb into the Deva path's chest. But he didn't release the explosion. He held it. I could kill you, Naruto whispered, his face inches from Pain's. I could erase this body and the signal sending it. I could trace the chakra back to your real body and turn your skeleton to dust. The Deva path was paralyzed, the purple energy rooting it in place. But death is too easy for you, Nagato. Naruto crushed the orb. The energy dispersed, washing over the Deva path. The connection was severed. The body fell limp, like a puppet with cut strings, and dropped into the abyss below. Naruto hovered in the air, the rain beginning to fall again. He looked toward the highest tower in the industrial sector. The tower made of paper. Found you. Inside the paper tree, Nagato coughed violently. He was emaciated, his ribs protruding through his skin, his back plugged into the ghetto statue's interface. Nagato. Konan rushed to his side. The connection to the Deva path, it's gone. He's coming, Nagato rasped. Konan, run. He is not a ninja. He is a calamity. I won't leave you. Konan turned to the entrance. Her body dissolved into thousands of sheets of paper. I will protect you with my life. The wall exploded. Not inward, but simply ceased to exist. A perfect rectangular hole appeared, letting in the damp wind. Naruto walked in. He looked tired. Using Hakai so aggressively drained his stamina. The violet marks on his arms were glowing faintly, venting excess heat. Konan launched her attack. Paper shuriken. A storm of razor-sharp paper engulfed Naruto. Naruto didn't dodge. He walked through it. As the paper touched his aura, it turned to ash. Thousands of sheets, hours of preparation, reduced to gray flakes that settled on his shoulders like dandruff. Conan gasped, backing away. Why won't you die? Naruto stopped in front of her. He looked at her with sad eyes. Because death is scared of me. He waved his hand. A gust of wind, pure, physical wind, slammed Conan against the wall. He pinned her there, not with chakra, but by solidifying the air pressure around her. She couldn't move. She couldn't disperse. Naruto walked past her, toward the emaciated man in the chair. Nagato stared up at him with the Rinnegan. Do it, then. Kill me. My death will bring peace. I will become a martyr. You really love the sound of your own voice, Naruto said. He stood over Nagato. He looked at the mechanical walker, the black rod stuck into his back. You wanted to bring peace through pain, Naruto said. You wanted to build a nuclear weapon to scare the world into being nice. It's a childish plan. The world only understands pain. Nagato yelled, spit flying from his lips. You don't know, I know that you're just a man who got hurt and decided to hurt everyone else, Naruto said. You're not a god. You're just a victim with a gun. Naruto reached out. Don't. Conan screamed from the wall. Naruto's hand hovered over Nagato's face. I'm not going to kill you, Naruto said. That would make you a legend. I'm going to make you mortal again. 2 fingers descended. Nagato tried to use the Rinnegan. Shinra Tensei. Soul Dragon. Anything. But Naruto's aura was suffocating his chakra network. The destruction energy dominated the system. Naruto plucked the eyes out. It wasn't gentle, but it was surgical. He removed the Rinnegan, Madara's eyes, from Nagato's sockets. Nagato screamed, hands flying to his bleeding face. Naruto held the 2 ripple-patterned eyes in his palm. They hummed with power. These don't belong to you, Naruto said. And they don't belong in this world. He closed his fist. Hakai. The Rinnegan, the most powerful dojutsu in history, the eyes of the sage, crunched. Violet light leaked from Naruto's fingers. When he opened his hand, there was nothing. No dust. No residue. The legacy of the Sage of 6 Paths was erased from the timeline. Nagato sat slumping in his chair, blind, powerless, and weeping. Why? Nagato sobbed. Why didn't you kill me? Because now you have to live with it, Naruto said. He turned to the ghetto interface behind Nagato. He placed a hand on the black rods. The rods turned to dust. The connection to the statue was severed. Naruto turned to Conan. He released the pressure holding her. She fell to the floor, gasping. Take care of him, Naruto said. He's just a blind cripple now. If he tries to build another weapon, I'll know. Naruto walked to the hole in the wall. He looked out at the rain-soaked village. And tell the village that pain is gone. It might stop raining if you let it. Naruto stepped out into the void, flying back toward the land of fire. He left 2 broken people in a paper tree, alive, but utterly defeated. The return trip was a blur. Naruto pushed his flight speed, but his reserves were low. The destruction energy was a hungry beast, it ate calories as fast as it ate enemies. He landed at the gates of Konoha just past midnight. His legs gave out. He stumbled, catching himself on the heavy wooden doors. His vision was swimming. He felt light, untethered, as if gravity was losing its hold on him. Naruto-kun. The voice was soft, hesitant. Naruto looked up. Under the pale light of the moon, Hinata Hyuga stood there. She was wearing a simple lavender yukata, holding a small basket. She didn't look terrified like the gate guards. Naruto-kun. The voice was soft, hesitant. Naruto looked up. Under the pale light of the moon, Hinata Hyuga stood there. She was wearing a simple lavender yukata, holding a small basket. She didn't look terrified like the gate guards. She didn't look awestruck like the villagers. She looked worried. Hinata, Naruto breathed. He tried to stand straight, to put the god mask back on. I'm fine. Just a long walk. Hinata stepped forward. She didn't flinch at the residual violet static crackling around him. She reached out and took his hand. Her skin was warm. It felt incredibly, painfully real against his numb fingers. "You're cold," she whispered. "It's part of the technique," Naruto mumbled, leaning against the gate. "Entropy. It takes the heat. Here." She opened the basket. Inside was a thermos of tea and 2 cinnamon buns. They were still warm. I had a feeling you would be back tonight. I waited." Naruto looked at the buns. Then he looked at her pearlescent eyes. "You're not scared?" he asked. "Everyone is scared. Even Kakashi-sensei." Hinata shook her head. She squeezed his hand. "I saw you training," she said softly. "Before you left with Lord Beerus. I saw how lonely you looked. Power is lonely, isn't it?" Naruto felt something tight in his chest loosen. The destroyer's mindset, the cold, calculating detachment, slipped away. "Yeah," Naruto admitted, his voice cracking slightly. "It's really lonely." "You don't have to be a god right now," Hinata said, guiding him toward a bench near the guard station. "Just be Naruto. Eat the bun." Naruto sat down. He took the bun. He took a bite. It was sweet, sticky, and warm. It tasted like life. Hinata sat next to him, close enough that their shoulders touched. She didn't say anything else. She just sat there, acting as an anchor for a boy who was drifting too far from humanity. Naruto closed his eyes, chewing slowly. For the first time since he returned, the violet light in his eyes faded completely, leaving them a clear, ocean blue. "Thanks, Hinata," he whispered. "You're welcome," she replied. Above them, the moon shone bright and full. But on its surface, invisible to them, a fisherman with a red rod was smiling, having watched the display of power in the rain village with greedy eyes. "Beautiful," Urashiki whispered from the lunar surface. "He is ripe." Chapter 5, The Summit of Wolves. The land of iron was a fortress of perpetual winter. Here, the 3 wolves' mountains cut into the sky like jagged teeth, and the snow fell hard enough to bruise. It was a neutral ground, a place where the chakra of the ninja world yielded to the steel of the samurai. Inside the fortress, the heat was suffocating. 5 massive banners hung from the ceiling of the circular meeting hall. The table was shaped like a horseshoe. At the center sat Mifune, the general of the samurai, his face lined with the stoicism of a man who had seen too many wars. Around him sat the Kage. "This is unacceptable." The 4th Raikage, A, slammed his fist onto the table. The wood groaned, a spiderweb of cracks racing toward the center. "Konoha is harboring a weapon of mass destruction that they cannot control. We have reports from the bounty stations. We have reports from the rain." The boy erased an entire village's leadership. "He erased the Akatsuki leader," Gaara said calmly. The young Kazekage sat with his hands folded. He looked tired, the resurrection having taken a toll on his reserves, but his eyes were sharp. "He did what we could not. He erased the matter," that Tsuchikage, Anoki, floated above his chair, his back aching. "My spies tell me there were no bodies. No debris. Just void. That is not ninjutsu, Kazekage. That is an affront to the laws of nature. If the boy sneezes, does the Earth Kingdom vanish? Naruto is not a threat to the alliance," Tsunade had sent a proxy. She was currently detained in Konoha dealing with the feudal lords who were in a panic. In her place sat Danzo Shimura, his right eye bandaged, his cane tapping a rhythmic, irritating beat on the floor. "The boy is a loyal shinobi of the leaf," Danzo said, his voice raspy. "However, his power is unique. Konoha is willing to lead the allied shinobi forces to ensure he is properly utilized." Utilized? The Mizukage, Mei Terumi, narrowed her eyes. She shifted in her seat, the mist from her lips cooling the air. "You speak of him like a tool, Danzo. But tools don't usually possess the power to delete gods. If Konoha leads, you control the weapon. I don't trust you. And I don't trust any of you." The Raikage stood up, his lightning chakra flaring, sparking blue arcs that danced across his skin. "The Akatsuki is a threat, yes. But this destroyer is the end of the world waiting to happen. I propose we classify Naruto Uzumaki as a rogue ninja. He must be contained or destroyed before he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed and decides the Cloud Village is an eyesore." "You can't destroy him," Gaara said softly. The room went silent. "What did you say, kid?" The Raikage snarled. "I said you can't." Gaara looked up. "I died. I was dead, Raikage. And I saw him in the cave. He held the power of the void in his hand. If you attack him, you won't die fighting. You will just stop existing. Then we strike first." The Raikage roared. The heavy iron doors of the summit hall did not open. They melted. It wasn't heat. It was black flames. Amaterasu. The steel turned to liquid sludge, dripping onto the pristine stone floor. A figure stepped through the breach. He wore a gray high-collared shirt and a thick purple rope belt. A Chikudo blade hung at his hip. His eyes were mismatched, one bleeding the pattern of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Sasuke Uchiha looked at the room of the most powerful ninja in the world, and he sneered. "Danzo," Sasuke said. The name dripped with venom. "I'm here for his head. The rest of you can leave, or you can die." The chaos was instantaneous. "Uchiha." The Raikage was the first to move. His speed was blinding, a streak of blue lightning. "You're the brat who attacked my brother." The Raikage's elbow, encased in lightning armor heavy enough to shatter a mountain, drove toward Sasuke's skull. Sasuke didn't dodge. A ribcage of purple skeletal chakra erupted around him. Susanoo. The impact shook the fortress. The floor detonated. The samurai guards were blown back by the shockwave. Heavy. Sasuke gritted his teeth. The Raikage's strength was monstrous, he was cracking the Susanoo ribs. Liger bomb. The Raikage grabbed the Susanoo and slammed it into the ground, driving Sasuke through the stone foundation. Anoki floated higher, preparing his dust release. "Foolish children. I should disintegrate both of them and save us the trouble." "Wait, Tsuchikage." Gaara rode a wave of sand, intervening to protect the samurai who were caught in the crossfire. Sasuke roared, the Susanoo evolving. Muscles wrapped around the bone. He fired arrows of black flame, Enten, at the Raikage. The Raikage dodged them with Godspeed, sacrificing his left arm to a hit of Amaterasu, chopping the limb off without hesitation before it could spread. Die. The Raikage aimed a final, killing chop at Sasuke's exposed neck. Sasuke's eye bled. Amaterasu spikes. If the Raikage hit him, they would both die. It was a stalemate of mutual destruction. Then, gravity broke. The ceiling of the fortress vanished. Not blown off, just gone. The snow stopped falling into the room because the snow above the room had also been erased. A figure dropped from the sky, landing precisely between the Raikage's fist and Sasuke's spikes. Naruto didn't block. He expanded his aura. It was a dome of violet silence. The Raikage's fist hit the aura and stopped. The lightning armor dissipated instantly, the chakra eaten by the void. Sasuke's Amaterasu flames, the inextinguishable fire, flickered and died as if suffocated. Naruto stood there. He was wearing his orange and black sage cloak now, the scroll of a contract on his back, but his eyes were glowing with the destruction. He looked at the wreckage. "You're loud." He looked at Sasuke. "And you're stupid." "Naruto." Sasuke screamed, his sanity fraying at the edges. "Don't get in my way. I'll kill you too. I'll kill everyone." "You can't even kill my aura, Sasuke," Naruto said calmly. He flicked his wrist. A shockwave of air pressure blasted Sasuke backward. The Susanoo shattered like glass. Sasuke hit the far wall, coughing blood, the wind knocked out of him. The wreckage jumped back, clutching his stump of an arm. "Uzumaki. So you've come to join the terrorist?" "I came to stop you from destroying the building," Naruto said. He looked around the room. "And to stop Danzo." Danzo stood up. He didn't look afraid. He looked calculated. He unveiled his right arm, revealing a grotesque collection of Sharingan eyes embedded in the pale flesh. "You have become a liability, Naruto," Danzo said. "The Nine Tails belongs to the village." Koto Amatsukami. Danzo's eye, Shirsue's eye, flashed green. He cast the ultimate genjutsu, not on Naruto, but on Mifune and the other Kage, intending to command them to subdue the boy. "Wrong," Naruto said. He didn't move. He simply stared at Danzo. The green light of the jutsu tried to take hold of reality, to rewrite the minds of the leaders. But Naruto's presence acted like a jammer. The destruction energy warped the chakra frequencies. The green light shattered. Danzo clutched his eye, groaning as the technique recoiled. "Your eyes are fake," Naruto said, walking toward the table. "You stole them. They don't obey you. They hate you. Kill him." Danzo shrieked. "He is a monster. He is turning against the alliance." The wreckage, adrenalized and furious, charged again. "I don't care what you are." Lightning style, guillotine drop. The Tsuchikage joined in. Dust release, atomic dismantling jutsu. A cone of white light formed in his hands, aimed at Naruto. Mei Terumi spat a glob of acidic lava. "Sorry, handsome. You're too dangerous." It was the 5 Kage versus Naruto. The combined might of the ninja world aimed at one boy. Naruto sighed. He closed his eyes. He could erase them. He could wave his hand and the 5 Kage would be dust. The political leadership of the world would be gone. It would be easy. Too easy, Beerus's voice echoed in his head. "If you break all your toys, you'll have nothing to play with." Naruto opened his eyes. He didn't use Hakai. He used Haki, pure, crushing killing intent amplified by divine energy. "Sit down." The voice wasn't loud. It was heavy. The floor cracked. The Tsuchikage fell out of the air, slammed into his chair. The wreckage was forced to his knees, the lightning armor stripped away. Mei choked, the lava dissolving in her throat. The pressure was physical. It felt like the sky was pressing against their shoulders. Naruto stood alone in the center of the room. "I am not your enemy. But if you attack me again, I will not be your friend either." Suddenly, the pressure vanished. Naruto blinked, looking confused. He looked to his left. A wall of the summit hall blew open. Not by a jutsu, but by a very polite knock that happened to pulverize the stone. A tall, blue-skinned man with white hair and a staff floated in. Beside him, a purple, hairless cat walked on 2 legs, yawning and rubbing his eyes. "Whis," the cat groaned. "You said this place had excellent sashimi. All I taste is ozone and unwashed shinobi." The room froze. The Kage, who had been terrified of Naruto, now felt something far worse. They felt a predator that made Naruto look like a house kitten. Beerus the Destroyer looked around the room. His yellow eyes landed on the Raikage, who was still kneeling. "Why is everyone on the floor?" Beerus asked. "Is it nap time?" "Lord Beerus," Naruto bowed slightly. "You're awake." "Barely," Beerus scratched his ear. He looked at Danzo. He sniffed. "You. With the eyes on your arm. You smell like old bandages and ambition. It's ruining my appetite." Who are you?" Danzo demanded, though his voice shook. "I am the Hokage of," Beerus pointed a finger. "Hakai." It was casual. Dismissive. Danzo's right arm, the one with the stolen Sharingan, turned to purple dust. It didn't bleed. It just vanished. The eyes, the Hashirama cells, the corruption. Gone. Danzo screamed, clutching his shoulder. "Gross," Beerus muttered. "Don't bring leftovers to the dinner table." Beerus turned to the Kage. "Now. I was told there is a banquet. If the food is not to my liking, I will blow up this planet. You have 5 minutes." Beerus walked past them, heading toward the kitchen. Whis followed, chuckling. "Oh, and Naruto-kun," Whis paused, smiling at the boy. "Your form was sloppy on that pressure wave. You let too much intent leak out. You scared the samurai outside." "Sorry, Whis-sensei," Naruto muttered. Whis tapped his staff and vanished after Beerus. The room was silent for a long time. Inoki, the oldest and most experienced ninja alive, slowly pulled himself up from his chair. He looked at his hands. He looked at the screaming Danzo. He looked at Naruto. "That." Inoki whispered. "That was a god." "Yeah," Naruto said. He walked over to Sasuke, who was unconscious against the wall. He picked his rival up by the collar. "That's my teacher. And he gets cranky when he's hungry." Naruto turned to the Kage. "We have a choice," Naruto said. "We can fight each other. Or we can feed him. I suggest we start cooking. The threat of total planetary annihilation is a powerful motivator for peace." Within the hour, the Allied Shinobi Forces was formed. Not to fight the Akatsuki, but initially to coordinate the greatest culinary effort in history. The Iron Country's chefs were mobilized. While the Kage scrambled to appease the purple cat deity in the dining hall, Naruto stood on the balcony of the fortress, the cold wind biting at his face. Sasuke was bound in chakra-suppressing seals, and a few distinct loops of destruction energy, nearby. "You've humiliated them," a voice came from the shadows. "Madara," Naruto said without turning. Obito Uchiha, masked, stepped out of the swirling vortex of Kamui. He stood on the railing. "You brought a monster to the table," Obito said. "That cat, his power is not chakra. It is something else. He's the reason your plan won't work," Naruto said. "Infinite Tsukimi. A dream world. Beerus would destroy it because fake food has no taste." "Perhaps," Obito said. "But he seems indifferent. He won't fight your wars for you." "No," Naruto agreed. "He won't. I have to do that." "Then we will meet on the battlefield," Obito said. "The fourth great ninja war begins now. I will take the 8 and 9 tails. I will become the 10 tails Jinchuriki. And let's see if your destruction can erase an immortal reality." "It can," Naruto said. Obito paused. "We shall see." He tried to suck Sasuke into the Kamui dimension. Naruto stepped on Sasuke's chest. "He stays. He is an Uchiha. He belongs to me." "He's an idiot," Naruto corrected. "He belongs to Konoha's rehabilitation program." Naruto raised his hand. The violet aura flared. "Do you want to test it, Madara? Do you want to see if I can hit you inside your dimension?" Obito hesitated. The instinct that had kept him alive for decades warned him. He can do it. He can punch through the space-time fabric. Keep him, Obito sneered. He is broken anyway. Obito vanished into the swirl. Naruto looked down at Sasuke. The Avenger was awake, staring up with hate-filled eyes. Why? Sasuke rasped. Why didn't you let me die? Because, Naruto looked back at the dining hall, where he could hear Beerus shouting about the lack of salt in the miso soup. I need someone to help me do the dishes. Somewhere in the stratosphere Urashiki Otsutsuki hovered on his glowing red platform. He held a small viewing device, replaying the scene of Beerus vaporizing Danzo's arm. Beerus. Urashiki whispered, his face pale. He knew the name. Every celestial being knew the name. The Hakaishin. The inevitable end. Why is a destroyer here? Urashiki bit his thumbnail. Is the Omni King watching? Is the Grand Priest involved? He paced nervously on his floating disc. If I harvest the chakra fruit while he is here, he might erase me for stealing his food. But if I leave, I miss the greatest harvest in a millennium. Urashiki's eyes darted around. I need power. I need to be stronger than a destroyer. I need the source. He looked toward the moon. Then he looked toward the location of the hidden Ten-Tails husk. The war, Urashiki grinned, a manic, desperate expression. The mortals are gathering all the chakra into one place. I won't interfere. I'll let them cook the meal. And when the Ten-Tails is revived, I will eat it all. Chapter 6, The Celestial Auditor. The war did not begin with a shout, but with a tremor. The allied shinobi forces, 80,000 strong, stood arrayed across the rocky expanse of the Land of Lightning's borders. They were a mosaic of headbands, mist, sand, rock, cloud, and leaf, united for the first time in history. But the unity felt fragile, held together by the terrified understanding that the alternative was extinction. Gaara, the regimental commander, stood atop a sandstone pillar, his arms crossed. Below him, the divisions shifted nervously. They are coming, Gaara said. From the earth, they emerged. White Zetsu. 100,000 twisted, plant-like effigies of humanity. They poured over the horizon like a landslide of pale flesh. Behind them, the reanimated legends of the past, dead Kage, legendary swordsmen, famous killers, marched with dead eyes and cracking skin. Artillery Division. Shikamaru's voice crackled over the comms units. Fire. The sky lit up. Fireballs, water dragons, wind. Scythes, and lightning spears rained down. The earth churned. The front line of the Zetsu army was vaporized. But for every 1,000 that burned, 2,000 more scrambled over the ashes. It's a wave, Temari gritted her teeth, readying her fan. We're going to drown in them. Then, a golden flash appeared in the center of the battlefield. Naruto Uzumaki landed. He wasn't wearing the heavy destroyer cloak. He was in his sage gear, the burnt orange coat fluttering. Get back, Naruto said. He didn't yell, but the command cut through the roar of battle. The allied shinobi near him instinctively recoiled, sensing the sudden drop in air pressure. Naruto took a deep breath. He couldn't use Hakai on this scale. If he erased 100,000 enemies individually, he'd burn out his stamina in minutes. Destruction required focus, this required volume. He clapped his hands together. Sage art, lava style, raisin shuriken. But he added a drop of the violet energy into the core. He threw the massive, spinning blade of magma and void. It didn't just cut, it expanded. The raisin shuriken exploded into a dome of apocalyptic fire that spanned 3 kilometers. The Zetsu caught in the blast weren't just burned, the violet tinge in the fire denied them the ability to regenerate. Their cellular structures collapsed into nothingness. Thousands died in seconds. The battlefield fell silent. Show off, Sasuke Uchiha muttered from a nearby ridge, his sword drawn. He was fighting for the alliance, reluctantly, under the watchful eye of Kakashi. Naruto straightened up, wiping soot from his cheek. That should clear he stopped. The sky went black. It wasn't a cloud. It wasn't nightfall. The sun simply ceased to provide illumination. A circle of absolute darkness appeared directly above the battlefield, sucking the light out of the atmosphere. Gravity multiplied by 10. Thousands of ninja fell to their knees, vomiting. The Zetsu were pressed into the dirt. Even the reanimated dead struggled to move. From the center of the darkness, a figure descended. He floated on a disk of red light, holding a long, slender fishing rod. His robes were white, pristine, and he looked at the war below with the expression of a man finding mold on his bread. Urashiki, Naruto whispered, looking up. The gravity didn't affect him. His aura naturally repelled it. So noisy, Urashiki Otsutsuki sighed, his voice echoing across the plains. I try to ignore this sector. I really do. But the energy readings are giving me a headache. He waved his hand, and a shockwave blasted the allied forces back, clearing a circle 5 miles wide. Only Naruto remained in the center. Urashiki pointed his rod at Naruto. The mortal who smells like a destroyer. Do you have any idea how many regulations you are violating? I don't care about your rules, Naruto said, floating up to meet him. And you're interrupting my war. War. Urashiki laughed. This isn't war. This is insects fighting over a crumb. Urashiki flicked his wrist. The red fishing hook shot forward. It moved faster than light, bypassing standard spacetime. Naruto dodged, not by moving, but by deleting the space the hook occupied. The hook passed harmlessly through a void patch. Oh. Urashiki's eyes widened. You have decent control. But you are flesh and blood. Urashiki vanished. He reappeared behind Naruto, swinging a weapon made of red chakra that solidified into a heavy mace. Naruto blocked with his forearm. Boom. The impact shattered the sound barrier. The ground below them cratered, sending a tsunami of rock outward. Naruto grunted. The force was immense. This wasn't a ninja using chakra to enhance strength, this was a celestial being with raw, physical superiority. You bleed, Urashiki noted with a sneer. A trickle of blood ran down Naruto's arm where the mace had connected. The destruction aura protected him, but the kinetic energy still transferred. My body is mortal, Naruto gritted his teeth, kicking Urashiki away. But my attack isn't. Naruto extended a hand. Hakai. A beam of violet light erupted from his palm. It was a concentrated eraser cannon. Urashiki didn't dodge. He opened a Yamatsu Hirasaka portal, a black rift in space, and the beam passed through it, exiting 5 miles away and erasing a mountain range. Sloppy, Urashiki taunted. He cast his line again. This time, the hook curved, glowing blue. Temporal rewind. The hook hit Naruto. It didn't pierce his skin. It pierced his chakra network. Naruto gasped as he felt something being ripped out of him. Not the destruction energy, that was too volatile to steal easily, but his own life force. His wind chakra. Urashiki yanked the line back. A glowing blue orb of chakra floated into his gourd. Delicious, Urashiki licked his lips. Wind style mixed with Uzumaki vitality. Spicy. Naruto fell back, panting. His vision blurred. I can see your limit, boy, Urashiki said, floating closer. You wield a god's power, but you have a human's fuel tank. Every time you use that purple light, you burn your own lifespan. You're dying. It was true. Beerus had warned him. Hakai required a divine physiology to use freely. For a human, it was like running a nuclear reactor inside a cardboard box. The box was starting to burn. I don't need to live forever, Naruto spat, wiping blood from his mouth. I just need to live longer than you. Unlikely. Urashiki raised his rod. I will harvest you first, then the fox inside you. Inside the seal, the sewers were shaking. The water was boiling. Kurama, the Nine-Tails, lay behind the bars. He was colossal, but he was pressing himself as far back into the corner as possible. He wasn't afraid of Urashiki. He was afraid of Naruto. The boy was pushing too hard. The destruction energy was leaking into the seal. The bars were corroding. Naruto! Kurama roared, his voice booming in Naruto's mind. Stop! If you keep drawing on the destroyer key, you will disintegrate us both. I have to. Naruto's voice echoed in the inner world, sounding weak. He's too strong. Ninjutsu won't work. Only erasure works. He is an Otsutsuki. Kurama snarled. He eats chakra. He hops dimensions. You are trying to swat a fly with a sledgehammer while standing inside a glass house. Then what do I do? Naruto yelled back. Give me an idea, fox. Kurama paused. He looked at the violet corrosion eating the golden bars of the cage. He looked at his own massive paws. Fusion, Kurama said. What? Baryon mode is a suicide pact, Kurama rumbled. But we can do something else. A compromise. The destroyer energy is purely offensive. It has no defense. It eats everything, including you. Kurama stood up, his tails lashing. My chakra is life. It is creation. It is dense, physical matter. If we coat the destruction energy in a layer of my chakra, we can stabilize it. We can make a weapon you can hold without burning your hands. Can we do that? I don't know, Kurama grinned, a feral display of teeth. But if we don't try, that pale freak is going to turn us into pills. Kurama extended a fist. Fist bump me, brat. Let's break the laws of physics. Naruto, in the real world, closed his eyes. In his mind, he punched the gate. Urashiki swooped down for the kill, his rod tipped with a red chakra blade. Goodbye, little destroyer. Boom. Urashiki was blasted backward. He tumbled through the air, correcting himself with a scowl. What now? A pillar of energy erupted from the ground where Naruto stood. But it wasn't the cold, empty violet of Hakai. And it wasn't the warm, golden orange of the Nine-Tails. It was a swirling, violent mix of both. A deep, bruising magenta. The light cleared. Naruto stood there. He looked different. The golden cloak of the sage mode was gone. In its place was a shroud of heavy, dark purple chakra that behaved like a solid liquid, dripping off him. His eyes were red with a violet cross in the center. 9 tails made of this unstable energy swayed behind him, dissolving the ground wherever they touched. What is this? Urashiki narrowed his eyes. Tailed beast chakra. No, it feels heavier. Kurama style, calamity mode, Naruto said. His voice was layered, human and demon speaking in unison. He vanished. Urashiki gasped. He didn't see him move. The Byakugan didn't register a trajectory. Naruto appeared instantly at Urashiki's throat. He didn't use a jutsu. He punched. The impact was catastrophic. Urashiki's jaw shattered. The celestial being was launched into the stratosphere, breaking the sound barrier 10 times over. Naruto didn't let him fly. He extended a chakra tail. The tail stretched miles in a second, wrapping around Urashiki's ankle. Get back here. Naruto roared. He slammed Urashiki down. The Otsutsuki hit the earth with the force of a meteor. The entire land of lightning shook. The Allied forces, miles away, had to brace themselves against the earthquake. Urashiki lay in the crater, his pristine robes torn, his face bloody. He coughed, looking up with genuine panic. This power, it's not erasure. It's mass. Infinite mass. Naruto landed on the edge of the crater. The purple cloak bubbled. Creation and destruction constantly colliding. It creates a reaction. Every punch I land is a nuclear fusion event. Naruto jumped in. Urashiki scrambled back, abandoning his arrogance. He opened his Rinnegan. Amana Manaka. He tried to shift dimensions. Naruto grabbed the portal with his bare hands. The purple chakra burned the space-time rift, preventing it from closing. He ripped it open wider. You're not going anywhere. Naruto drove a Rasengan into Urashiki's stomach. But this Rasengan was black, rimmed with purple. Tailed Beast Bomb, Destroyer variant. No. Urashiki screamed. The explosion engulfed the crater. A pillar of black light shot into space, visible from the other side of the planet. On the sidelines, high upon a cliff, Beerus sat on a picnic blanket. Whis was pouring tea. They watched the mushroom cloud rising in the distance. Oh, Whis said, shielding his eyes. That's an interesting workaround. Using the tailed beast as a heat sink for the Hakai. Beerus chewed on a stick of dango. It's sloppy. He's wasting 40% of the energy on heat. But, it's effective. The boy has guts. Should we intervene? Whis asked. That Otsutsuki fellow seems to be breaking the rules of the sector. No, Beerus swallowed. Naruto needs to learn that being a god isn't just about snapping your fingers. It's about getting your hands dirty. Besides, if he loses, I'll just destroy the planet myself. The dango here is too sweet anyway. In the crater, the smoke cleared. Naruto stood panting, the purple cloak dissipating. He fell to one knee, clutching his chest. The strain was agonizing. It felt like his veins were filled with molten lead. The crater was empty. No. Not empty. A small, red portal was closing. He escaped, Naruto whispered. Damn it. Urashiki had sacrificed his left arm and his legs to the blast to propel his torso through a dimensional rift at the last second. He was alive. Maimed, but alive. And Naruto knew where he was going. The ghetto statue, Naruto realized, his eyes widening. He needs to heal. He needs chakra. He's going to the Ten Tails. Naruto tried to stand, but his legs failed him. The calamity mode had burned through his reserves. Naruto. Sakura and Hinata landed beside him. Sakura immediately began pumping medical chakra into his back. Don't move. Sakura ordered, her voice trembling. Your chakra network, it looks like it's been microwaved. What did you do? He's going to Obito, Naruto rasped. We have to stop the resurrection. Rest, Hinata said, her Byakugan active, watching the distant horizon. The alliance is regrouping. Sasuke is heading toward the statue. You need to breathe. The grave of the Ten-Tails Obito Uchiha stood atop the Geto statue. He had the 7-tailed beasts inside. He had a tentacle of the 8 tails. He had the gold and silver brothers for the 9 tails chakra. It is time, Obito said. Resurrection. The statue roared. But the roar was cut short. The air above Obito split open. Urashiki fell out, a bloody torso dragging itself through the air. You. Urashiki hissed, looking at Obito. You have, the vessel. Obito turned, his Sharingan widening. An Otsutsuki. I need, flesh, Urashiki gurgled. Before Obito could react using Kamui, Urashiki didn't attack. He did something worse. He opened his mouth, which unhinged like a snake, and lunged at the ghetto statue itself. He bit into the husk. "What are you doing?" Obito screamed. "Adaptation." Urashiki shrieked. He began to merge with the statue. His body liquefied, flowing into the stone cracks of the beast. "If I cannot beat the destroyer as an auditor, I will beat him as the planet eater." The ghetto statue began to convulse. It wasn't just reviving the Ten-Tails. It was being possessed. The wood and stone turned white. Horns erupted from the back. The chakra of the Ten-Tails mixed with the celestial biology of Urashiki. A shockwave of pure malice swept across the world. It wasn't the mindless rage of a beast. It was the intelligent, hungry hatred of a scorned god. From the husk, a new form rose. Not the Ten-Tails. Not Obito's Jinchuriki form. A giant, white-armored titan with Urashiki's face and the Ten-Tails' eye. It looked at the horizon, where Naruto lay bleeding. Round 2, Destroyer, the entity spoke, its voice shattering mountains. Chapter 7, The Red Moon. The roar of the fused entity, Urashiki and the Ten-Tails, was not a sound. It was a frequency that vibrated the water in the cells of every living thing within 1,000 miles. The entity stood taller than the mountains. It was a grotesque, alabaster titan, its skin shifting like liquid mercury. On its back, the shell of the ghetto statue had cracked open to reveal massive, weeping wings of chakra. Where a face should have been, there was only a single, vertical red eye and a mouth that stretched too wide, filled with rows of shark-like teeth. "Hunger," the titan spoke. The voice was Urashiki's, but distorted, layered over the primal scream of the beast. From the titan's back, 10 tails lashed out. They didn't just crush the rock, they transfigured it. Where the tails touched the earth, the ground turned into red crystal, draining the life from the soil instantly. "Fall back!" Gaara screamed, his sand shield crumbling under the sheer atmospheric pressure. "Everyone, retreat to the second line." It was a futile order. The titan raised a hand. From its palm, a beam of red light swept across the battlefield. It wasn't an explosion. It was a harvesting scythe. Thousands of shinobi were caught in the light. They didn't burn. They simply fell limp, their chakra ripped from their bodies and pulled into the titan's mouth. Naruto, still on his knees, watched the slaughter. His vision was swimming. Sakura was pouring everything she had into him, but his network was fried. "Stop!" Naruto gasped, trying to stand. "I have to." "You can't," Sakura cried, pushing him down. "If you use that power again right now, your heart will explode." "If I don't, there won't be anyone left to save," Naruto snarled. He forced himself up, his legs shaking. The violet aura flickered around him, weak and unstable. Then, the sky shattered. 2 meteors, massive enough to block out the horizon, descended from the clouds. They burned with the heat of re-entry, aimed directly at the titan. On a high ridge overlooking the carnage, a man in red armor stood with his arms crossed. His long black hair whipped in the wind. Cracks on his face marred his skin, the sign of the reanimation jutsu. Madara Uchiha had arrived. "What a mess," Madara scoffed. "Obito failed. And now some alien parasite is wearing my pet." The meteors crashed into the Urashiki Titan. The impact should have been an extinction-level event. The Titan didn't even flinch. The mouth on its face opened. It bit the first meteor. With a crunch that sounded like the planet's spine snapping, the Titan consumed the rock and the chakra within it. It caught the second meteor with a tail and shattered it into dust. Madara's eyes narrowed. "It eats stone." "No, it eats the physics of the attack." Madara leaped down, landing in the middle of the battlefield. He ignored the terrified Alliance soldiers. He looked up at the Titan. "Hey!" Madara shouted. "That beast belongs to me." The Titan looked down. The massive red eye focused on the speck of dust that was Madara Uchiha. "You," the Titan rumbled. "Indra's transmigrant. A spicy appetizer." A tail whipped down, faster than sound. Madara activated his Susanoo, the perfect, blue colossus. The tail hit the Susanoo sword. The blue chakra armor cracked instantly. Madara was driven into the ground, burying him 100 feet deep. "He's strong," Sasuke landed next to Naruto. His eternal Mangekyo Sharingan was spinning wildly. "That thing, it's not just big. It adapts. Every time it gets hit, it evolves." "It's Urashiki," Naruto spat, leaning on Sakura. "He's trying to become the world tree itself. He wants to eat the planet." "Then we cut him down," Sasuke said, drawing his sword. "Naruto, can you fight?" Naruto closed his eyes. He reached deep, past the pain, past the exhaustion. He found the cold, quiet place where the destruction energy lived. "Yeah," Naruto opened his eyes. The blue was gone, replaced entirely by the void violet. "I can fight." The battle that followed was a blur of apocalyptic violence. Madara, pulling himself from the rubble, realized that his Edo Tensei body was a liability. He needed real power. He needed flesh. He found Obito, who was lying half-dead near the Titan's foot. Black Zetsu had already latched onto him. "My turn," Madara whispered. He forced the Rinne rebirth. Madara returned to life. He laughed as his heart began to beat, the thrill of battle surging through his veins. He snatched a Sage Mode charge from the first Hokage's clone, blinded himself to regain a Rinnegan, and then looked at the Titan. "Now," Madara grinned. Limbo. Invisible clones slammed into the Titan's ankles, knocking the beast off balance. Planetary devastation. Sasuke launched gravity cores, ripping chunks of the earth to imprison the beast. Hakai, Lance of the Void. Naruto threw a spear of pure erasure. It hit the Titan's shoulder. The shoulder vanished. The beast screamed. For a moment, it seemed like they were winning. The combined might of the two transmigrants and the legendary ghost was pushing the monster back. But Urashiki was intelligent. And he was patient. "Enough," the Titan hissed. The Titan began to shrink. The massive body compressed, the white flesh hardening. It shed the bulk of the 10 tails, concentrating all that power into a human-sized form. Urashiki stood there. He now looked like a fusion of the Sage of Six Paths and a nightmare. He had horns, a third red eye, and skin made of truth-seeking orbs. "You mortals play rough," Urashiki smiled. "But the sun is setting." He pointed at the moon. "Madara Uchiha," Urashiki said. "You wanted to cast a spell, didn't you? A dream for the world." Madara paused. "The infinite Tsukuyomi." "Do it," Urashiki commanded. "What?" Madara blinked. "Cast it," Urashiki laughed. "Put the sheep to sleep. Rip their souls out of their bodies. Gather all that chakra into one convenient package for me to eat." Madara scowled. "I am not your servant. I am the savior of this world." Madara flew up, tearing the forehead protector from his head. He approached the moon. He would cast the jutsu, not for Urashiki, but to control the beast. If the world was asleep, he could use the collective chakra to suppress this alien invader. Madara opened his third eye, the Rinne Sharingan. "Shine upon the world." Madara roared. Infinite Tsukuyomi. The moon turned blood red. A light, brighter than the sun, bathed the night side of the planet. It penetrated walls, underground bunkers, and eyelids. On the battlefield, the fighting stopped. Gaara looked up, his eyes glazing over. "Mother." Tsunade, arriving with the medical unit, stopped running. A peaceful smile spread across her face. "Dan." Nawaki. One by one, the soldiers of the Alliance dropped their weapons. The roots of the divine tree erupted from the ground, wrapping them in cocoons. Silence fell over the world. Sasuke reacted instantly. Naruto. Get in. Sasuke deployed his Susanoo wings, creating a shelter. The light of the Tsukuyomi could not penetrate the Susanoo of a Rinnegan user. Sakura and Kakashi dove under the wings. Naruto didn't move. Naruto. What are you doing? Sasuke screamed. You'll be trapped. Naruto stood in the open. The red light washed over him. But it didn't touch him. Around Naruto, a barrier of violet static hummed. The light of the genjutsu hit the barrier and ceased to exist. He was a hole in the dream. A glitch in the matrix. It can't see me, Naruto said, his voice echoing with a strange distortion. An illusion requires a mind to accept it. My mind is focused on only one thing. He looked at Urashiki, who was floating above the tree line, watching the world go to sleep with a look of pure gluttony. Destruction, Naruto finished. The world was wrapped in white. The only things moving were Team 7, Madara, and Urashiki. Madara floated down, panting. It is done. Now, I have the chakra of all humanity. I am God. He turned to Urashiki. Now, alien. Get off my planet. Urashiki chuckled. He applauded slowly. Wonderful. Truly wonderful. You gathered all the juice into the cup. Black Zetsu, who was standing behind Madara, suddenly smirked. You are not God, Madara, Zetsu whispered. You are just another harvest. Zetsu's hand plunged into Madara's back. Madara gasped, freezing. What? The will of Kaguya, Zetsu hissed. She has waited long enough. Madara screamed as he began to bloat. The chakra from the victims of the Tsukuyomi flooded into him. But it was too much. His body warped, expanding, turning white. Yes. Urashiki cheered, floating closer. Bring her out. The rabbit goddess. I haven't tasted a matriarch in eons. The mass that was Madara exploded in a flash of light. When the light faded, a woman floated there. She had long, pale blue hair, horns, and the Byakugan. She wore a high-collared robe. Kaguya Otsutsuki. The progenitor of chakra. She opened her eyes. She looked at Naruto and Sasuke. Then she looked at Urashiki. Her face twisted into fear and rage. You. Kaguya's voice was like ice. The celestial hunter. Have you come to take my nursery? It's not your nursery anymore, Grandma, Urashiki summoned a red chakra scythe. It's my buffet. The battlefield had become an arena of gods. Naruto regrouped with Sasuke under the Susanoo, which Sasuke finally dispelled as the light faded. Okay, Naruto said, wiping blood from his eye. So we have the mother of chakra on one side, and the planet eater on the other. And we're in the middle. We need to seal Kaguya, Sasuke said, analyzing the situation. Rapidly. The sage gave us the seals for her. But Urashiki, sealing won't work on him. He can hop dimensions. I take Urashiki, Naruto said. You and Sakura handle Kaguya. Are you insane? Sasuke snapped. You're running on fumes. I have one shot left, Naruto said. He looked at his hand. The violet energy was flickering, sputtering like a dying candle. Beerus taught me a technique. I haven't used it because, well, it breaks things. Permanently. Naruto. Sakura reached out. Go. Naruto roared, pushing them away with a burst of wind. Kaguya screamed, shifting the dimension. The ground turned to ice. They were in her frozen dimension. Urashiki didn't care. He shattered the ice with a flex of his aura. Give me the fruit. Urashiki lunged at Kagaya. Kagaya countered with 80 God's vacuum attack, fists of chakra that pulverized the air. Urashiki took the hits, laughing, absorbing the kinetic energy. He grabbed Kagaya by the throat. Is this it? Urashiki mocked. You betrayed the clan for this level of power. Pathetic. Amaterasu. Sasuke struck. Black flames covered Urashiki's face. Urashiki threw Kagaya into a glacier and turned to Sasuke. Annoying fly. He swung his rod. Sasuke swapped places with a chunk of ice, narrowly avoiding decapitation. Naruto stepped forward. He wasn't glowing anymore. No Sage Mode. No Kurama Cloak. No Violet Aura. He looked like a normal, beat-up teenager. He walked across the ice toward Urashiki. Hey! Naruto yelled. Urashiki turned. You again. You're empty, boy. I can see it. You have no chakra left. I don't need chakra, Naruto said. He raised his right hand. He pointed his index finger and thumb like a gun. He focused. He didn't pull from his stomach, the seal. He didn't pull from nature, Sage Mode. He pulled from his mind. He remembered the feeling of beer tasting bad. He remembered the feeling of a star that had burned too long. He remembered the absolute, cold indifference of the void. Beerus had told him, Hakai is not a laser beam. It is a decision. You decide that something is incompatible with existence. Naruto pointed his finger at Urashiki's chest. Urashiki felt a chill. A real chill, colder than the ice dimension. What are you doing? Urashiki hesitated. I am deciding, Naruto whispered. A small, purple sphere appeared at the tip of Naruto's finger. It was tiny, the size of a marble. But it was dense. It was so dense that the light of the dimension bent around it. Ultimate technique, destruction sphere. Naruto fired. The marble didn't move fast. It drifted. Urashiki laughed. That slow toy. I can dodge that in my sleep. He moved to the left. The marble appeared at his chest. What? Urashiki gasped. It erases distance, too, Naruto said, his arm falling limp. The marble touched Urashiki. There was no explosion. Urashiki looked down. The marble sank into his skin. Is that it? Urashiki sneered. It tickles. Then, the screaming started. It wasn't Urashiki screaming. It was his chakra. The tentails inside him screamed as it was deleted. Urashiki's arm turned to dust. Then his shoulder. Then his hip. No. Stop. I am eternal. Urashiki clawed at his own chest, trying to dig the energy out. But his hands turned to dust as they touched it. The sphere expanded. It was a slow, silent dome of erasure. Kagaya, recovering from the glacier, watched in horror. She opened a portal and fled to another dimension instantly, terrified of the purple light. Sasuke grabbed Sakura and Kakashi, teleporting them as far away as possible. Urashiki Otsutsuki, the celestial hunter, looked at Naruto one last time. His eyes were full of confusion. You. Urashiki gasped, half his face gone. You're not a ninja. You're a... Pop. The sphere collapsed. Urashiki was gone. The ghetto statue was gone. The Tentail's power he had stolen was gone. A massive, perfect spherical void remained in the ice, smooth as glass. Naruto stood at the edge of the crater. He swayed. He looked up. Kagaya was gone. But the infinite Tsukimi still shone in the sky, which was visible through the dimensional rift Kagaya left open. One down, Naruto whispered. He fell face first into the snow. Chapter 8, creation before destruction. The silence of the frozen dimension was absolute, save for the whistling of wind through the spires of ice and the ragged breathing of Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke stood over Naruto's unconscious body, his sword drawn, the blade trembling ever so slightly. The snow around Naruto had melted into a perfect circle of dry stone, the residual heat of the destruction sphere keeping the cold at bay. But Naruto himself looked terrible. His skin was gray, the violet markings on his arms faded to dull bruises. He looked less like a god and more like a boy who had touched a live wire. Sakura, Sasuke didn't look back. How long? Sakura was kneeling beside Naruto, her hands glowing green. Sweat dripped from her chin, freezing before it hit the ground. His chakra network it's there, but it's dormant. It's like his body shut down to prevent him from burning himself into ash. I can't wake him up, Sasuke. He has to wake up on his own. We don't have time, Kakashi said, his voice tight. He stood a few feet away, his lone Sharingan scanning the horizon. She's coming back. As if summoned by the fear, a tear in space opened above them. It wasn't the red swirl of Urashiki's portal. It was a dark, ominous rift that felt like a wound in the fabric of the world. Kagaya Otsutsuki floated out. She looked different than before. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a cold, reptilian caution. Her Byakugan swept the area, locking instantly onto the prone form of Naruto. The destroyer sleeps, Kagaya whispered. Her voice carried across the ice, echoing in their skulls. The threat is paused. Don't take another step, Sasuke warned, his Rinnegan pulsing purple. Kagaya didn't blink. You are Indra's ash. You are insignificant. That boy, he is the anomaly. He carries the energy that ends universes. I cannot allow him to wake. She raised her palm. From the bone spurs on her back, gray rods of hardened ash emerged. All-killing ash bones. One touch, and the target would crumble to dust. It was a primitive form of destruction, biological rather than existential, but lethal nonetheless. Kill him, Kagaya commanded herself. She fired. Sasuke moved. Amenota Jikara. He swapped places with a chunk of ice, appearing directly in the path of the rods. He channeled his Chidori through his sword, slashing upward. The lightning screamed, deflecting two of the rods, but the third grazed his shoulder. Sasuke hissed, stumbling back. His armor sizzled where the rod had touched, the fabric turning to gray dust. If it had hit flesh, he would be dead. Sasuke. Sakura screamed. Focus on Naruto. Sasuke roared back, ignoring the pain. Kakashi, cover me. Kagaya frowned. She raised both hands this time. 75. 80 gods vacuum attack. Innumerable fists made of pure chakra materialized in the air. They were massive, each one capable of crushing a mountain. We can't block that. Kakashi yelled. Suddenly, a spectral form overlapped with Kakashi. Obito Uchiha, or what remained of his spirit after Urashiki's purge, manifested for one final act of defiance. Kakashi. Obito's voice resonated from the afterlife. A final gift. Take them. The eyes, use them to save the world, not destroy it. Chakra flooded Kakashi's system. In his blind eye, a Sharingan flared to life. In his other eye, the Mangekyo spun. Double Mangekyo Sharingan. A colossal blue Susanoo erupted around Team 7, wings spreading wide. But this Susanoo wasn't just armor, it was intangible. Kamui Shuriken. Kakashi yelled, throwing giant black stars infused with the warping power of Kamui. The vacuum fists collided with the shuriken and were warped away into the other dimension. The impact shook the glacier, but the team remained untouched. Kagaya recoiled, surprised. More insects with stolen power. It does not matter. I will separate you. The world shifted. The ice vanished. The air turned heavy, crushing. Gravity increased 100-fold. The gravity dimension. Sasuke's Susanoo shattered under the weight. Sakura was slammed face-first into the dirt. Kakashi fell to one knee, struggling to keep his eyes open. Kaguya floated effortlessly, immune to her own realm. She drifted toward Naruto. Naruto didn't move. The gravity pressed him into the rock, but he didn't wake. Mother. Black Zetsu, hiding in Kaguya's sleeve, hissed. Do it now. Absorb him. If we eat the destroyer, we will become truly immortal. Kaguya extended a hand toward Naruto's throat. Sasuke tried to move, but his bones creaked. He couldn't generate the speed. Naruto, wake up, you idiot. The inner void Naruto was floating in a dark ocean. It wasn't the sewer of the Nine Tails. It was deeper. It was the place where his consciousness met the destruction energy. It was silent here. Peaceful. You overdid it, a deep, grumbling voice echoed. Naruto opened his eyes. He was standing on the surface of the black water. In front of him sat Kurama, looking small, no bigger than a regular fox. Kurama? Naruto asked. Why are you so small? Because you used almost all my chakra to punch an alien into a black hole, Kurama snapped, flicking his tails. We are running on fumes, Naruto. Your body is wrecked. The destruction energy is eating your cells faster than I can regenerate them. Naruto looked at his hands. They were translucent, fading into the dark. I had to, Naruto said. Urashiki was going to eat the planet. And now Kaguya is going to eat you, Kurama said. She's outside right now. Sasuke and the others are buying time, but they can't beat her. She is the Ten Tails. She has near-infinite chakra. Then I need to go back, Naruto said, trying to step forward. To do what? Kurama stood up, blocking his path. Use Hakai again. If you use it on Kaguya, do you know what happens? Naruto paused. Kaguya has absorbed the divine tree, Kurama explained, his eyes serious. The divine tree has absorbed the chakra of everyone on earth. The Alliance. Your friends. The villagers. They are all inside her, linked to her soul. Kurama bared his teeth. If you erase Kaguya, you erase them. You will save the planet, but it will be an empty rock. Is that the kind of destroyer you want to be? Naruto froze. He hadn't thought about that. He had been so focused on the threat that he forgot the contents of the threat. Beerus-sensei taught me how to break things, Naruto whispered. He never taught me how to fix them. Because he is a god of destruction, Kurama said. But you are a ninja of the leaf. You are a creator, Naruto. You build bridges. You make friends. You talk to enemies. The water beneath Naruto's feet began to glow gold. You need to combine them, Kurama said. Creation and destruction. The yin and the yang. Don't just erase her. Edit her. Edit her. Use the Hakai not as a bomb, but as a scalpel, Kurama said, his form beginning to grow, swelling with renewed resolve. Sever the will from the power. Destroy Kaguya, save the Ten Tails. Can you do it? Naruto closed his eyes. He imagined the violet energy. Usually, it was a roaring fire. He imagined calming it down. Compressing it. Making it thin. Sharp. Precise. He opened his eyes. The violet in his pupils was gone, replaced by a cross, vertical pupil of the fox, horizontal bar of the sage, glowing with a soft, steady purple light. Yeah, Naruto said. I can do it. Then wake up. The gravity dimension Kaguya's hand was inches from Naruto's neck. Die, she whispered. She thrust her hand down. Snap. A sound echoed through the dimension. Not a bone breaking. The sound of air rushing in to fill a sudden vacuum. Kagaya's hand stopped. It didn't stop because she wanted it to. It stopped because her wrist was being held. Naruto Uzumaki lay on the ground. His eyes were open. He wasn't looking at Kagaya with anger, or fear, or the cold detachment of the destroyer. He looked disappointed. "You touch things that don't belong to you," Naruto said. Kagaya gasped. She tried to pull her hand back. She couldn't. His grip was absolute. "Let go!" Kagaya shrieked. She fired an ash bone from her free hand directly at Naruto's face. Naruto didn't blink. He exhaled. A small, concentrated puff of violet breath hit the bone spike. The spike turned to dust instantly. Naruto sat up, still holding her wrist. The gravity that was crushing Sasuke and Kakashi seemed to bend around him, terrified to apply its laws to his body. "Sasuke," Naruto said calmly. "Get ready to seal her." "Naruto." Sasuke forced himself to his feet, struggling against the weight. "Be careful. The people are inside her." "I know," Naruto said. He stood up, towering over Kagaya despite being shorter. His presence filled the dimension. The violet aura wrapped around him like a tailored suit, humming with a frequency that made Kagaya's teeth ache. "You." Kagaya trembled. "What are you?" "I'm the janitor," Naruto said. He tightened his grip. "Hakai, severance." Violet light raced up Kagaya's arm. Kagaya screamed. But it wasn't pain of the flesh. She felt something tearing inside her soul. The connection she had to the massive reservoir of chakra, the trapped humans, the tailed beasts, was being burned away. "No. They are mine." Kagaya wailed, her form destabilizing. She mutated, turning into a rabbit monster, then a bloating mass of faces. "They aren't yours," Naruto said, stepping closer, his hand glowing brighter. "You're just a parasite hoarding energy you didn't earn." He placed his other hand on her chest. "Get out." He pulsed the energy. It was a surgical strike of erasure. He targeted the consciousness of Kagaya Otsutsuki and Black Zetsu. He targeted the ego. The will. Black Zetsu, hiding in the sleeve, dissolved first. "Mother. Save me." "Mother," Pop Zetsu was erased. The instigator of centuries of war was gone. Kagaya shrieked as her mind began to unravel. The power remained, the Ten-Tails chakra was still there, but the pilot was being ejected. "Sasuke. Now." Naruto shouted. Sasuke lunged, his hand glowing with the Yin seal. Naruto released Kagaya's wrist and slapped his palm, glowing with the Yang seal, which he had safeguarded, onto her other side. 6 paths, Chibaku Tensei. The gravity of the dimension inverted. Rocks flew toward Kagaya. But this time, she didn't fight back. She couldn't. Her will had been erased by Naruto's technique. She was just a husk of chakra now. The rocks piled onto her. The moon began to form. Naruto stood back, watching the sphere grow. He panted, the violet aura fading. From the center of the forming moon, 9 distinct streams of chakra shot out, escaping before the seal closed. The tailed beasts. They landed on the ground, confused but free. The husk, the ghetto statue, was sealed inside the new moon. The gravity returned to normal. Kakashi collapsed, the DMS fading from his eyes as Obito's spirit finally departed for the Pure Land. "It's over." Sasuke sheathed his sword. He looked at the floating moon. Then he looked at Naruto. "You didn't kill her," Sasuke said. "You lobotomized her." "I evicted her," Naruto corrected, rubbing his neck. "She's gone. The statue is just a battery now. We can extract the people." Sakura ran over, hugging Naruto so hard he nearly fell over. You idiot! You scared us to death. Naruto laughed, a weak, raspy sound. Sorry, Sakura-chan. I had to take a nap. The Valley of the End. The war was technically over. The infinite Tsukuyomi was still cast, but the caster was gone. All that remained was to weave the ratification sign to undo it. But there was one loose end. Naruto stood on the head of Hashirama Senju. The waterfall roared beneath him. Opposite him, on the head of Madara Uchiha, stood Sasuke. The sun was setting, casting long, bloody shadows across the water. We have to do this, don't we? Naruto asked. He looked tired. He just wanted ramen. We do, Sasuke said. His face was set in stone. You possess the power of a destroyer god, Naruto. And I possess the eyes of the sage. We are the only two beings capable of shaping this world. And I don't trust the current system, Sasuke said. The Kage. The villages. They created the darkness that made Itachi. They created pain. They created Obito. If we restore the status quo, it will happen again. Sasuke clenched his fist. I will become the darkness, Sasuke declared. I will execute the 5 Kage trapped in the dream. I will take control of the tailed beasts. I will be the common enemy that unites the world forever. I will be the Shadow Hokage. Naruto sighed. He scratched the back of his head. That sounds really lonely, Sasuke. Power is lonely. Sasuke shouted. You of all people should know that. You walked away from humanity to train with a monster. You erased existence itself. Don't tell me you intend to go back to playing ninja in Konoha. I do, Naruto said. Because the ramen is good there. Enough. Sasuke roared. Chibaku Tensei. He clapped his hands. The trapped-tailed beasts, who were watching from the sidelines, were suddenly pulled into gravity spheres, sealed instantly. I will use their chakra to kill you, Sasuke said. And then I will rebuild the world. Sasuke channeled the lightning. His Susanoo formed, the vessel of Indra, empowered by the beasts. It was a titan of lightning, terrifying and majestic. Indra's arrow, Sasuke announced, drawing the bow. It was his strongest attack. Enough to destroy a continent. Naruto watched him. He didn't power up. He didn't call on a Kurama avatar. He didn't enter sage mode. He just stood there. Fire! Sasuke screamed, releasing the arrow. The bolt of lightning tore through the air, vaporizing the water, the rocks, the air itself. It was the ultimate ninjutsu. Naruto raised one hand. He didn't use a sphere. He didn't use a beam. He opened his palm and caught the arrow. Silence. The arrow didn't explode. It stopped. Naruto held the construct of pure lightning energy. His hand was coated in a thin, dense layer of violet. You still don't get it, Sasuke, Naruto said, his voice carrying over the roar of the waterfall. He crushed the arrow. The lightning shattered like glass, dissolving into purple dust. Sasuke's Susanoo wavered. Sasuke's eyes widened in horror. Impossible, that was, all the chakra of the beasts. Naruto walked off the statue. He stepped onto the air, walking slowly toward Sasuke. You're fighting for control, Naruto said. You think if you control everything, no one gets hurt. That's what Kaguya thought. That's what Madara thought. Naruto reached the Susanoo. He placed his hand on the giant energy construct. Hakai. The Susanoo didn't break. It vanished. Sasuke fell out of the sky, landing in the water with a splash. He scrambled up, coughing, reaching for a kunai. He tried to summon Amaterasu. Naruto swatted the black flames away with the back of his hand as if they were cobwebs. Naruto grabbed Sasuke by the collar and slammed him into the cliffside. He didn't hit him hard enough to kill, but hard enough to rattle his teeth. "Look at me!" Naruto yelled, his blue eyes piercing Sasuke's soul. Sasuke froze. He looked into Naruto's eyes. He saw the void. He saw the power to end the world. And he saw that Naruto was refusing to use it. "I could erase you, Sasuke," Naruto whispered. "I could erase the Kage. I could erase the concept of ninja. I could force peace on this world by terrifying it into submission. I could be the god you want to be." Naruto let go. He stepped back. "But I won't. Because that's not living. That's just existing." Naruto held out his hand. "Come back, idiot. The war is over. You lost." Sasuke stared at the hand. He looked at his own trembling hands. He realized the gap between them wasn't skill, or chakra. It was authority. Naruto had transcended the game Sasuke was trying to win. Sasuke's knees gave out. He slid down the rock face, sitting in the water. "You're annoying," Sasuke whispered, tears mixing with the river water. "You really are, the most annoying guy in the world." "Yeah," Naruto grinned, the violet aura vanishing completely, leaving just a goofy, blonde boy. "I know." Epilogue, the meal of gods 2 weeks later. The wreckage of Konoha was being rebuilt. Wood-style users were working overtime. The infinite Tsukimi had been dispelled. The Kage were awake, and terrified of Naruto, but grateful. Naruto sat at a newly built counter at Ichiraku Ramen. It was an open-air stall now, as the roof hadn't been finished. "Here you go, hero," Tucci placed a massive bowl of miso chashu in front of him. "On the house. For the rest of your life." "Thanks, old man." Naruto snapped his chopsticks. "It smells adequate," a voice purred. Naruto froze. He looked to his left. Beerus sat there, holding a spoon. Whis sat next to him. "Lord Beerus," Naruto said, swallowing hard. "You're still here." "I was waiting for the paperwork to clear on your little war," Beerus grumbled. He took a sip of the broth. He paused. Naruto held his breath. Tucci held his breath. "Salty," Beerus said. "Rich. The noodles have a good texture." He gulped the bowl down in seconds. "I give it 4 stars out of 5. Naruto exhaled. The planet was safe. "So," Whis said, dabbing his mouth with a napkin. "Naruto-kun. You defeated an Otsutsuki. You sealed a progenitor. You humbled an Indra incarnate. And you managed not to destroy the planet in the process. Not bad for a mortal." "I had help," Naruto said, looking at his hand. "Kurama kept me sane." "And now?" Beerus asked, spinning on his stool. "They want to make you Hokage, don't they? The leader of this, dust ball." Naruto looked out at the village. He saw Kakashi directing the builders. He saw Sasuke, in a straitjacket, pending trial, but alive, arguing with Sakura. He saw Hinata walking toward the ramen stand, waving shyly. "They offered it to me," Naruto said. "But I said no." "Oh." Whis raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "Because," Naruto said, smiling as Hinata reached him and sat down, taking his hand. "A destroyer can't sit behind a desk. My energy, it makes people nervous. If I stay here too long, I'm a liability. So I'm going to travel," Naruto said. "Kakashi-sensei will be the 6th Hokage. I'll be the shadow that protects the light. If anything like Urashiki comes back, I'll be there to erase it." Beerus smirked. He stood up, stretching his back. "A wise choice. A god of destruction must be free to roam." Beerus placed a hand on Naruto's head. "He didn't erase him. He ruffled his hair. You pass, kid. You're not a full destroyer yet. You're too soft. But, you're a good destroyer. Beerus and Whis began to float upward, a pillar of light surrounding them. We will return, Whis called out. In a few decades. Try to have better pudding next time. They vanished into the stars. Naruto sat back on the stool. The weight of the universe was gone from his shoulders. He was just a ninja again. Naruto-kun. Hinata squeezed his hand. Are you okay? Naruto looked at her. He looked at the ramen. He looked at the village rising from the ashes. Creation. Destruction. They were just two sides of the same coin. And right now, he was hungry. Yeah, Hinata, Naruto beamed, his smile brighter than the sun. I'm finally full. The end.
I hope you guys like the video. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe my channel. Till then, take care.